San Diego, it's time to fire it up. From the beaches to the ballparks, from the Gaslamp to North County, no one knows America's finest city like he does.
You can't just punt on a Manny Machado prime year.
He's a fourth-generation San Diegan, born and raised in the heart of this community. Passionate, opinionated, and always bringing you the real talk on your teams, your city, and everything in between.
Braden totally knows his stuff. He's ready for the next step. That guy is good.
Live and local, it's the Braden Surprenant Show.
But I think Braden's one of the up-and-coming young stars in the media game in San Diego.
Now, here's your host, Braden Surprenant.
What's up, San Diego? And a happy Friday to everybody out there in America's finest city. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each and every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fans. Good to be with all of you again today. It's a beautiful day out there in America's finest city, getting closer and closer to actual Padres baseball. 20 days to opening day, where the Padres are going to be taking on the Detroit Tigers to get their 2026 campaign underway. And there's still a lot to get to when it comes to the roster, when it comes to the overall team makeup, when it comes to who's going to be doing this, who's going to be doing that, what's the lineup going to look like. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, what AJ Cassavell said on the morning show yesterday. We're going to dive deeper into what Walker Buehler did yesterday. There's a lot to break down with the Padres, but let me start the show with this. If you love baseball and if you love San Diego Padres baseball, which I know all of you guys do, it's why you listen to us all the time. If you love watching stars compete when it actually means something, you should be fired up about the World Baseball Classic. Because this isn't a distraction that some people say. It's not a nuance or a nuisance, I should say. It's not, oh, great, don't get hurt. This is good for baseball. This is good for the Padres. And this is great for Fernando Tatis Jr. And that's really where I want to start today's show. As we see that the WBC has gotten underway, you got one of the games that started a couple of days ago. We are now into a place where most of the teams are in action today. And everybody's going to be playing. I mean, Cuba's playing right now. We're going to have other games coming up later on throughout the afternoon, throughout the evening. Team USA is going to play today. But you should be fired up about the WBC. You should be fired up about the World Baseball Classic. Because this isn't a distraction. This is something that is good for baseball and good for the Padres. And as I mentioned before, great for Fernando. And why is it great for Fernando? Well, the World Baseball Classic is everything baseball doesn't always give us in March. It's urgency. It's passion. It's country over contract. It's emotion over routine. And tell me this doesn't feel like the perfect stage for a guy like Fernando Tatis Jr. He said it himself before leaving Peoria. It's what I'm built for. And he's right. The flair, the swagger, the bat flips, the emotion, the spotlight. The WBC is made for guys like Fernando Tatis Jr. And here's the part that makes it even more powerful. This is his first one. The 2021 tournament was canceled. In 2023, he was ineligible. So for the first time, Fernando Tatis Jr. is putting on that Dominican Republic jersey with the Tatis 23 across the back and representing the country he grew up dreaming about. He was 14 years old when the Dominican Republic won the 2013 World Baseball Classic. He watched every game. You remember they didn't lose one. They think about that. 14-year-old Tatis watching heroes from his island dominate the world, dreaming that one day he'd do it. And now he's here. And he's not just participating, he's playing for his dad. Fernando Tatis Sr. is on the coaching staff under Albert Pujols. That matters. That's generational. That's emotional. You don't think that means something? It means everything. This isn't just exhibition baseball to these players. This is identity. This is culture. This is pride. When Tatis says, it means the world, where I come from, my family, my culture, I'm blessed to be from the small island. That's not PR speak. That's real. And for Padres fans, you get to watch your superstar start his season playing meaningful baseball in playoff-like environments. Why would you not want that? And it's not just Fernando. Look at how many Padres are representing their countries. Manny Machado, also part of the Dominican with Randy Peralta and Fernando Tatis Jr. Xander Bogaerts, who's about to get started for the Netherlands. Not too further from right now. Alec Jacob, Rod Marinaccio, both playing for Team Italy. Mason Miller, going to represent Team USA. That's a big league presence on the global stage. And here's where I push back against the nervous fans. Yes, there's always injury risk, but there's injury risk in spring training games with split squads and half-empty stands too. At least here, the adrenaline is real, and at least here, the competition is real. And that matters because intensity sharpens you. We talk about all the time how baseball players sometimes ease into April. Timing isn't there. Velocity jumps, surprise hitters. Pitchers are still building up. You don't ease into the WBC. You are thrown into a playoff atmosphere immediately. And for a guy like Tatis, who feeds off energy, this is perfect. You want him locked in. You want him playing with edge. You want him coming into the MLB season feeling alive. This is how you do it. And let's talk about the ripple effect in Peoria. When the Stars leave camp, what happens? Opportunity. More at-bats, more innings, more leverage situations, competition. The bottom of the roster just got more interesting in Peoria. Guys are fighting for bench spots, and they're getting real run now. Arms trying to crack the bullpen. They're pitching in more meaningful innings now. And speaking of bullpens, I love this for guys like Ron Marinaccio and Alec Jacob. Both are competing for spots with the Padres. Both could have stayed in camp, pitched controlled innings, worked in safe environments. Instead, they're pitching in high leverage, win or go home atmospheres. And that's not a negative. That's a test drive. If you can handle the 8th inning of a World Baseball Classic game in Miami with 35,000 fans waving flags and screaming for their country, you can handle Dodger Stadium in September. You can handle Petco Park in a one-run game. Pressure is a privilege, and they're getting it early. That's growth. Mason Miller, same thing. High-octane stuff on a global stage. That's how you build edge. Manny Machado, you don't think representing the Dominican alongside Tatis matters in that clubhouse? That bonds players, that strengthens leadership, that builds chemistry, that carries back into a 162-game grind. We always talk about culture. Well, guess what? Competing together for something bigger than you and your MLB team builds that culture. Now, zoom in for a second. Baseball needs this. The World Baseball Classic showcases something MLB sometimes struggles to capture, and that's visible passion. Flags in the stands, players yelling after strikeouts, benches emptying in celebration, not anger, crowds chanting in rhythm. This feels like October and March. And if you're a Padres fan, you should be watching proudly because your team is heavily represented. This isn't a distraction from the season. This is the beginning with meaning. Fernando Tatis Jr. stepping into the batter's box for the Dominican Republic for the first time with his dad in the dugout in front of a stadium full of flags and drums. That's not something to worry about. That's something to celebrate. And here's the truth. The great players want this stage. The Stars show up for this. Tatis already said about facing Japan, they're nasty, but we're going to beat them. That's the swagger you want. That's the competitive fire you want. That's the vision and the version of Tatis you want coming back to San Diego. And if he plays well, it fuels him. If he struggles, it motivates him. Either way, he's competing. And I would much rather my superstar enter April a little battle-tested than easing through backfields in Arizona. So Padres fans, it's time to lean in. Watch, be proud, because this is good for the game. It's good for your roster depth. It's good for your bullpen competition. And it is absolutely perfect for a guy like Fernando Tatis Jr. He's built for the stage. And when he comes back to Peoria and then to Petco, he's not just going to be warmed up. He's going to be sharpened, and that should excite you. World Baseball Classic is underway. Cuba's up 3-0 on Panama right now. They're about to get the game underway in Houston, where Mexico is playing Great Britain. We're going to have games throughout the entire day. We have already had some games go final, but this is exciting times, Frank. It's fun to watch. It's fun to be part of the World Baseball Classic, and it's fun to see these guys go out there and play at a high level this early in the season before the MLB season really starts.
International tournaments like this become big mainstay points when you get the superstars of the league to buy in. If you don't have guys such as Fernando, Manny, Judge, Skeens, Jaron Duran, who we see coming up, if you don't get those guys to commit, then the tournament's going to fall flat on its face. When you have the level of star power littered all throughout this tournament that the World Baseball Classic has, and it's only been growing year in and year out, that shows how important this tournament is. The World Baseball Classic has come a long way in the last 20 years from being a fun little gimmick before the season starts to now this is a must-watch event. Now, albeit it's not on the same level as the World Cup, which we'll see here later on this year, but it is certainly an event, a must-see event just before the baseball season, and not only because you're missing baseball.
It's as you mentioned, it's the stars playing in this thing, right? I mean, I'm watching. Jaron Duran just stepped into the box for Mexico, right? That's one of the best. What's one of the better players on the Boston Red Sox? You have Johan Camargo playing for Panama right now, stepping into the box. I mean, you got guys like Aroldis Chapman pitching for Cuba right now. I mean, there's so much great talent out there, and you get to see guys. This is what you want to see in the All-Star game. Is this right here. Guys playing on teams together that you don't normally see and playing at a high level. That's what you want to see. And I'm excited for Team USA later tonight. I'm excited to watch the Dominican Republic play. I'm excited to watch every team that's got a Padre on it. I mean, this is fun. This is great. This is what's great for baseball. And the more this thing builds, the more younger players growing up right now, they're going to be representing their countries in the next 10, 15 years, the more they're going to want to step in and be like, I want to be a part of this. So it's great that Paul Skeens said he wanted to play. It's great. Even that Tarek Skubal is only throwing 55 pitches, which I think is a gigantic waste of time. He's setting the stage for future generations to be able to play in this thing. We're going to keep you updated on the WBC as it goes about throughout the entire day. But Walker Buehler made his Padres debut yesterday. We're going to talk more about what we got out of the 27-run barrage for the Padres when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego's number sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We are quickly approaching Selection Sunday. In fact, this week is the first of 2 weeks for conference championship tournaments. Conference championship tournaments are going on right now in college basketball, the first of the couple of weeks, and they have 31 spots on the line for automatic bids. And right now, according to ESPN.com, 29 total locks across Power 5 plus Gonzaga, Utah State, and St. Mary's for at-large bids. The SEC and the Big Ten are driving the bracket volume. The ACC is more fragile than ever right now, and the Mountain West could be in danger of shrinking to 2 bids. But the real drama, it's the bubble, and it's chaotic.
Yeah, it always seems to be the bubble as well. Now, we'll start off with the should-be-ins. These ones are tracking safely above the cut line, but definitely are not immune. Out of the SEC, we're seeing Georgia, Missouri, Texas. Nothing really surprising there. Big Ten, you have Iowa, UCLA, Ohio State. ACC, you're seeing Clemson, Miami, and SMU, Southern Methodist. Big 12, you have Central Florida. Others, you have St. Louis.
The Billikens, Frank.
Yes, out of the Atlantic 10. So right
these
now,
are all teams that should be, they're bubble teams, but they should be in. I think they've done enough to get to that point.
Yeah, and Ohio State just had a big win this weekend, too. They just beat Purdue at home. So that was a big win to help their case out. Do you want to do the work to do teams, or do you want me to?
There's teams in the work to do, and this is the true bubble, if you will. These are the ones where every win, gets them closer to solidifying a spot, and every loss is just, devastating. And unfortunately, San Diego State finds himself in this work to do bubble. These are teams that probably have to win one or two games in their respective conference tournaments. So teams that have work to do in the SEC, it's Texas A&M and Auburn. I don't know how Auburn is still in the bubble. I really don't. I don't understand the entire situation with Auburn. The nepotism hire of Bruce Pearl's son to take over the program, which a guy that had no head coaching experience whatsoever at the college level gets the job like Auburn, and they're one game above 500. They've lost 7 of their last 8 games. I'm sorry. I don't know how you could put that team in the NCAA tournament, even if they win out. I don't understand how you could put them in the NCAA tournament. It makes no sense to me with Auburn being a bubble team. I mean, they're the first team out right now. Are you kidding me with this SEC bias?
But SEC,
I don't see the connection there. I mean, you look at a team so they're in there with Texas A&M, Indiana, and USC. Indiana's dropped 4 straight games, and they've looked awful. That's another team that's just still hanging around. Got to get them in the NCAA tournament. I mean, God forbid San Diego State loses a game at New Mexico, which, by the way, no Power 4 school would ever sign up to play. Not a single Power 4 school would ever sign up to play at New Mexico, but we're going to punish San Diego State for losing at New Mexico. We're not going to punish Indiana for losing 4 straight. We're not going to punish Auburn for losing 7 of 8 and being 500. No, we're going to punish the Aztecs for losing at New Mexico. This is where the biases jump in. The ACC, Virginia Tech, and Cal, they have no business being in the NCAA tournament. Absolutely not. TCU and Cincinnati. As much as I am a TCU alumni, and they've been playing really good basketball as of late, they lost the game in New Orleans at the beginning part of the season. I mean, so they have their own qualms too. At least with the Big 12, statistically and metric-wise, they are the best conference in college basketball right now. So them and Cincinnati are hanging around. In the Big East, Seton Hall, the fact that the Big East is a power conference and also only getting maybe 3 teams in, also a joke because it's not part of the autonomous 4, if you will. Other mid-majors to consider. Miami of Ohio. I don't think they've done enough to potentially make the tournament if they don't win their automatic qualifier bid. I know going undefeated is one thing, but unless they go undefeated and then lose in the MAC championship game, I don't think they're going to be in. Santa Clara, New Mexico, San Diego State, VCU, South Florida. These are all the mid-majors and others that are battling for a spot. But we talked about this on the Aztec update, and during our show, there are 37 teams or spots available for an at-large bid in the NCAA tournament. And right now, 34 of them, according to Joel Lenardi and other bracketologist predictors, they have 34 of those spots being sent to Power 4 schools.
It's just, unfortunately, it's just the way it is. And speaking of which, let's take a look at that cut line. Right now, looking at the last 4 buys, you have Georgia, Missouri, A&M, and Texas getting the last 4 buys. The last 4 in right now, you're showing Auburn, you're showing TCU, you're showing Santa Clara, you're also showing Indiana. First 4 out. This is kind of
18 on a Friday. Broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios, we know how. We're going to talk about Aztec basketball later on the show today. Magically, they have an opportunity tonight to still win a share of the Mountain West Conference Championship. If they win and then New Mexico beats Utah State tomorrow, which is possible. I mean, Utah State's kind of reeling right now. Then the Aztecs get to hang a banner.
That's why I said it's the luck of fools that they're in it still.
Update for you on Padres players in the WBC. Xander Bogaerts today is 0 for 2. The Netherlands only have 3 hits on the day. They're losing 2-1 to Venezuela. Venezuela jumped out to a 1-0 lead. Netherlands answered it in the second with a run, and then Venezuela then answered that in the bottom of the second to take a 2-1 lead. It's been scoreless since then as they head to the bottom of the fourth. Venezuela up 2-1 on the Netherlands. There's your update on that game. Other games for you. Mexico and Great Britain just got underway. Mexico was able to get a knock in the top of the first, but that was about it. They put up a 0. It will be Jazz Chisholm Jr. leading things off for Great Britain in the bottom of the first inning. Other games for you. Cuba up 3-1 on Panama in the bottom of the 7th inning. Christian Bethancourt at the dish for Panama, by the way. How about that? Former Padre. Later on today at 3 o'clock, Puerto Rico will take on Colombia. Seth Lugo getting the start for Puerto Rico against Jose Quintana of Colombia. Nicaragua will play the Dominican Republic as Christopher Sanchez will start the game for the DR. That game will be at 4 o'clock Pacific time. Team USA underway at 5 o'clock. That will be first pitch for Team USA as Logan Webb and the Americans will take on Brazil. That game will be on Fox. And then later tonight, in the pool play out in Japan, Chinese Taipei will take on Czechia. And Czechia 0-2, Chinese Taipei 0-2. Chinese Taipei lost earlier this morning to Japan 13-0 in 7 innings. They got 1 hit by Japan. So Japan's off to a pretty good start in that pool. Australia is 2-0 in pool play as well. So 2-0 Australia, 1-0 Japan. That pool in particular started their games a little bit earlier than everybody else. So they have already racked up some of the games in that one.
Did you see the thing from the Australia? I believe it was they played
catcher.
South Korea, right? Yeah, with the catcher that everyone's blowing way out of proportion.
He didn't shake the guy's hand.
It's like, give it a rest, guys. Do you not know, like, when you
Will Smith did the same thing to Randy Arozarena in the Team USA Mexico game in the last one.
It's like when you get into competition, when you have your game face on, there are some guys that will still do the whole pleasantry thing. There are other guys that won't. That's competitors. Stop it.
I'm not overly. I don't really care.
That's making a big thing out of nothing. Is all that is.
Mountain out of a molehill. So that's your update on the WBC. As of right now, we'll keep you updated on other events that have happened in the WBC. But let's talk about yesterday's game a little bit. Now, a lot was going on while we were on the air with yesterday's Padres game. In fact, every time we went to break, we looked up at the TV. The Padres added 2 or 3 more runs magically. Padres spring training offense erupted in a 27-6 blowout win over the Seattle Mariners. Count it. Count it towards the Vetter Cup. That should count.
Yeah. Chargers came back for a day to beat the Seahawks.
Yeah, they did. Held the Seahawks to 2 field goals yesterday. Unfortunately, the Chargers had to settle for field goals late in the game, but after they jumped out to a 21-2 lead or whatever it was.
At least 1 field goal an inning after the second.
That's right. 12 combined home runs between the two teams yesterday. Windy conditions at Peoria. San Diego delivered a massive 12-run scoring inning, sending 17 batters to the plate and overwhelming the Mariners starter Luis Castillo along with several minor league relievers. The inning featured a barrage of extra base hits and home runs that highlighted the Padres' lineup depth. And one storyline emerging for the game was the continued breakout spring from Jackson Merrill, 3 for 4 with a home run and a double. Several other players contributed power, including Jay Cronenworth, Miguel Andujar, Nick Schnell, Freddy Fermín, Bryce Johnson, Tirso Ornelas. The offensive fireworks, though, potentially did come with an injury concern as Sungmoon Song hit a 430-foot home run in the second inning, but ended up leaving the game after aggravating a right oblique strain that had already slowed him earlier in camp. Padres labeled his exit as precautionary while awaiting further testing. That's an interesting note, especially with guys competing for spots on this team. On the pitching side,
and
the game
being one of them.
And him being one of them for sure. On the pitching side, the game also served as a key evaluation moment for the Padres crowded rotation competition. Walker Buehler made his Padres spring debut. He allowed 2 runs over 3 innings after walking the first batter he faced. Buehler settled in, struck out 2 while showing flashes of his former self. 2 other rotation candidates also pitched. J.P. Sears struggled with command, allowed 2 home runs while surrendering 7 runs in 6 2/3 innings this spring so far. Tristan McKenzie continued to battle serious control issues. He walked 7 of the 26. He has walked 7 of the 26 batters he has faced this spring. The outing reinforced the wide open battle for the final rotation spot, while several pitchers competing to join the likely top of the staff. Herman Marquez is expected to pitch tonight too, against the who are they playing?
The Cubs.
The Cubs. They're playing the Cubs. The offensive outburst also illustrated something the Padres are hoping becomes a defining characteristic of 2026: lineup depth and power production throughout the roster. not just from the star players. Got to see that on a little bit of display yesterday with the wind howling out of the ballpark. Did you see the scores yesterday around Major League Baseball?
Yeah, some of them were crazy. And by the way, I'm surprised. Thank you for mentioning the wind, because I had it yesterday on MLB's box score. 5 miles an hour blowing in from left.
Liars.
Yeah, they updated that. It was in varying directions. It wasn't in from left, but it was 17 miles an hour.
Yeah. Like I said. You want to look at some of the scoring that happened. Maybe it was all wind, but you look at some of the scores in Major League Baseball yesterday in the Grapefruit League and the Cactus League. Twins beat the Yankees 15-0 in 7. They run ruled them. Cubs put up 8 runs on 12 hits against the Diamondbacks yesterday. Did you see? I mean, the Cincinnati Bengals outdid the LA Rams yesterday 14-13 in Goodyear, Arizona.
That was a crucial missed extra point too.
Blocked
late in that game.
Blocked. Reds won 14-13. Both teams had 13 hits. A's and Angels. You see the Raiders in the I can't keep using the Rams, but the Raiders in the Rams game?
Split squad for the Rams.
16-11. 16-11. 27 combined runs yesterday.
See, they were so cool that one of the backup kicker for the Rams hit one from 70, so they gave him the 4th point. They doing the UFL bit.
No, just everybody was going for 2. Rams jumped out to an 8. They jumped out to a 6-0 lead. Then they went for 2, got it, kicked the field goal, went up 11-0, and then the A's just went. The Oakland Raiders decided to go back-to-back drives, going for 2, went 16-11. It's like a Pop Warner score. So they had 27 combined runs. Padres scored 27 runs in their own right as they won 27-6. 33 combined runs in that game. Brewers and Rockies combined for 18 runs yesterday as the Brewers won 10-8. Rangers and Rangers and Royals was a slugfest. That game was 15-9, which 24 combined runs. And the Guardians and the White Sox 12-3, 15 combined runs. Every game was a shootout yesterday in the Cactus League. The only one that was not was the D-backs and the Cubs, but the Cubs still put up 8 runs. Were they testing out a new baseball yesterday, or was it all just wind?
I'm looking. Let's look through here, because the Dodgers Reds was 12-mile-an-hour winds.
You're looking up the winds of all this.
Yes, that was in
a windy day in Phoenix, dude.
That was in Goodyear. Then was the Los Oklahoma A's. That game was in Tempe, 11-mile-an-hour winds. Milwaukee, Colorado, 18 going out. Jeez. Texas was 19 going out to right.
Yep, wind.
And then, what was it? Cleveland, Chicago, that was 18 out to center.
Camelback Ranch.
So
maybe it was the wind, I guess.
Wind was going. I think Felix Rosenquist in IndyCar practice felt that too, as he ended up backwards in the fence.
How much, what were the game times on this?
1 o'clock for most of them.
No, I mean, how long were these games? You don't put up 27 runs and the game goes by in an hour and 45 minutes.
Cleveland White Sox was 2:33.
Not too bad.
That was a full game too.
I think everybody played a full game yesterday except for the Yankees because they only got 2 hits and they took
Texas,
the ball and
Kansas City was 3:10.
To Yuma?
Yes. Los Oklahoma was 3:23. Dodgers Reds was 3:18. So nothing too extraordinary.
No, that's not crazy, like at all.
Milwaukee, Colorado was 2:55. And even the Padres wasn't ridiculous. There was 3:19 for 33 runs. 3 hours and 19 minutes isn't all that bad. That's got a solid pace to it.
Too bad the Padres didn't score in the first inning. They would have scored in every inning.
Yeah.
They got shut out in the first. They went down 1-2-3, actually. 12 runs in the second, 5 runs in the third, 1 in the fourth, 2 in the fifth, 1 in the sixth, 3 in the seventh, 2 in the eighth, 1 in the ninth. What a day. What an absolute day.
That 8th inning safety was huge. really put the kibosh on any sort of Seahawk comeback.
Padres beat the Mariners 27-6 in a spring training slugfest. 12 home runs were hit between both teams due to windy conditions. Padres scored 12 runs in the second inning. 17 batters came to bat in that inning. Luis Castillo allowed the first 6 runs before minor league pitchers were shelled. Jackson Merrill, again, we mentioned this earlier, second spring homer hit halfway up the batter's eye in center field.
Yes.
He continues to look like a key piece of that Padres lineup moving forward as long as he stays healthy. Power overall the lineup yesterday. I mean, not only did you get a lot of home runs, I mean, you got it from a lot of different guys.
And also Jake Cronenworth, who AJ Cassavell put this out on Twitter, and I couldn't believe it when I read it. Jake Cronenworth hit one to left center field yesterday. He has never in his entire major league career hit an opposite field home run. He hit one yesterday.
I can't believe that at all. I can't believe that. I know it's true because AJ Cassavell said it, but I can't believe it. Because you said that yesterday.
417 feet oppo, and he had never done that he has not done that in his career.
Thank you, Jetstream. Appreciate it. Sungwoon Song homered, Cronenworth homered, Andujar homered, Nick Schnell homered, Freddy Fermín homered, Bryce Johnson homered, Tirso Ornelas homered. Ty France doubled twice in the same inning. Nick Castellanos with 2 for 3 with his third double of the spring. Freddy Fermín finished 3 for 3 with 6 RBIs. Now you got to look back at Sungwoon Song. After his 430-foot home run, he left the game with aggravating a right oblique strain. Injury originally occurred in January. Padres called it precautionary, but are awaiting test results. We talked about the bench pieces yesterday with Sungwoon Song.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that's getting put into place where it's like it almost feels like Bryce Johnson is getting edged out because Ty France is hitting just based on I don't even know. I don't know if that's exactly why, but based on what the roster moves have been the last couple of days, it seems like it's pointing in the direction that they want to get an extra bat on this lineup.
Yes.
But
does.
with Sungwoon Song, that opens the door to potentially have Ty France and Bryce Johnson on the team. And as Sungwoon Song starts the season on the IL, he could do some rehab stuff in extended spring training. He could do some rehab stuff, Frank, in the minor leagues. I mean, he could start building up on the fastball, but that ball he hit yesterday was coming at 95. That's a good sign for Sungwoon Song, as we talked about yesterday. Walker Buehler's debut, 3 innings, 2 runs allowed, walked the first batter he faced, allowed a single and a triple in the second inning, and recovered with 3 straight outs, and finished with 2 strikeouts. He looked like a little bit of work in progress, which is expected this early in spring. But what do the metrics say? When we come back, we're going to take a deeper dive into Walker Buehler's numbers, his spin rates, his velocity, whiff rates, stuff plus, all that stuff to really determine if he had a really good day yesterday or not. His stat line was not bad. Can some of these things get improved upon? We'll discuss when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show, Standing Over Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. Big time history this weekend in motorsports, and it starts with the name tied forever to greatness. Ever since the dynasty years of the Chicago Bulls in the 1990s, the word three-peat has basically belonged to one man, Michael Jordan. Now, he's sharing it with one of his drivers. Tyler Reddick wins again, this time at Duramax Texas Grand Prix, powered by Redline at the Circuit of the Americas, becoming the first driver in NASCAR history to win the first 3 races of a Cup Series season.
Yeah, no, that is absolute history. Now, only 2 drivers in NASCAR history have ever been able to win the first 2. That would have been Jeff Gordon in 1997 and Matt Kenseth back in 2009. Those are the only times that the winner of the opening 2 race was that one driver was able to win the opening 2 races of the season. Now Tyler Reddick has not only added to that very illustrious company, he has gotten into a class of his own, something we've never seen before, and something with how hard it is to win races nowadays, we may never see again.
A week earlier, he won at Echo Park. Before that, Daytona. Now it's the Circuit of the Americas. He now holds a 70-point lead in the standings. It's early, but it's starting to dominate. And here's the part that adds legacy weight. His car is co-owned by Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin under the 2311 Racing. Jordan called the third win the hardest one to get because expectations change pressure changes. Everyone's chasing you. And right now, everyone is chasing Tyler Reddick.
Yeah, and he was running away. He was running for his life at the end of that race. Shane Van Gisbergen came over from the Australian Supercar Series a couple of years ago, ran just a one-off race because he wanted to try it out at the Chicago Street Circuit and won it. The first driver to ever win on his debut. Got a full-time ride last year, won the last 5 road courses in a row last year, and Reddick had to hold off SVG at the end of that race and did it perfectly. He said he made a couple mistakes, but he was able to outlast Shane Van Gisbergen and win by a fairly comfortable margin in the end.
The bigger takeaway, obviously, this isn't luck. Now it's starting to be a reality in NASCAR. It's not about the fuel. It's not fuel mileage. It's not chaos racing. This is the speed of Tyler Reddick in his car right now. It's the strategy. It's the execution. And if he keeps stacking playoff points this early, we might be watching someone build a championship cushion before the summer even hits.
Yeah, exactly. And with the way the new championship system is working, it's not just a win and you're in. You need to build up points. You'll get more points for your wins. The playoff points will stack up. And then it's the final 10 races, basically restarts the season. You go by the point standings again to find the champion. But yeah, this is a huge cushion and huge buffer that Tyler Reddick has built himself this early in the season.
You dropped Tyler Reddick's car off at Viejas Arena before a San Diego State basketball game, and now all of a sudden he's won 3 races. I don't think it's that much of a coincidence, Frank. I really don't.
Hendrick Motorsports, get William Byron's car out here, please. That would be very, very kind of you. Please, come on. He's got to pick it up.
Jimmy Johnson better start dropping a car off before the race here in San Diego. We'll talk about that, obviously, as that race gets closer in June. But an IndyCar update. Palo picks up where he left off. Meanwhile, over in IndyCar, the dominance theme has continued. Alex Palou opened the 2026 season by winning the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. If it sounds familiar, it should. He just won his 3rd straight championship last season, by nearly 200 points. And on Sunday, he led 59 laps and won by over 12 seconds. That's not just squeaking by. That's controlling a race.
No, if you want to go back to the chase dominance of Jimmy Johnson in NASCAR, that's what Alex Palou has done here in IndyCar. Won by the largest margin in the history of the series last year at almost 200 points, going for his 4th straight championship. He's just picked up right where he's left off. And IndyCar does run on road courses and on ovals. This was the street circuit at St. Petersburg. He is very, very good on road courses. He has been so dominant in this series for the last couple of years. It's no wonder why the world of Formula One is looking at him.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun race coming up next weekend.
Yep.
Couple
Phoenix,
of races.
yes.
Frank's excited. Hopefully.
I'm very, very excited.
Frank's going to give us the full recap next week.
Yes.
August on 97 to the Fan. Join us on the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not big bank banking. It's better. We're going to talk a little bit more about Walker Buehler here. When you have a situation in which you're looking for a new pitcher, looking to help out the rotation. We talked about it yesterday. I thought this is a big moment for the Padres. I thought yesterday was going to be a big day for the Padres and important. More from the pitching side, Frank. I didn't think about the offensive side.
Yeah.
Right, but too early. Right, but about the wrong thing, I guess. So, a couple of things with Walker Buehler. We're going to hear from Walker Buehler first, as Sam was able to catch up with him yesterday after the game. But we're also going to dive deeper into what his outing was analytically and kind of get an idea of how well he pitched.
Just the same way.
How well he did maybe not have pitched. And we're going to kind of do this, as Frank mentioned, with some of these guys and kind of seeing the metrics with these pitchers.
Yeah, just in the same way we did with Joe Musgrove yesterday, we'll do today with Walker Buehler.
So let's get to it with Walker Buehler. Now, here's what I find very interesting. And I saw this news yesterday because it came out yesterday after the game, and I want to hear it from Walker Buehler, but this is the first time in a long time that Walker Buehler says he feels healthy. This is one of the first times that he feels comfortable.
Mine even more.
And here's what Walker Buehler had to say about his elbow. And the thing is, it's apparently it just stopped hurting about 4 weeks ago.
Musgrove was saying yesterday he's talked to guys who had TJ and took about 2 years to finally feel back to normal. You've gone through it twice. Is that kind of your experience? 2 years?
Yeah, my first one was kind of an outlier, man. I was 21 years old and got way bigger, way stronger. And my first live, I felt better than I ever had. And so the second one, I think that timeline checks out. Maybe mine even more a little bit. Was a little bit more delayed, but about 4 weeks ago, my elbow just stopped hurting. And so that's a new one for me. And, things have kind of ticked up from there. So, I think Joe is on the right track. Obviously, I think the first thing for those guys that are coming off of it, myself included, is to find the aggressiveness back in the throw, and being around him, watching him throw. That's definitely in there. So, I think that's 2/3 of the battle, and he'll be good.
Is that a thing where it just stopped hurting? Like it just went, like you were feeling it?
I've tried every treatment and supplement and vitamin you can. And luckily I have some people out here that I work with and have worked with for a lot of years, and something got rid of it and it hasn't come back. I'm a little scared. I don't know exactly what did it that fixed it. I hope if it hurts again, we get lucky again. But no, all in all, I think it's in a really good spot.
That's good news that he's feeling better. It's the first time he's it just stopped hurting 4 weeks ago. Think about that. For the last time he had Tommy John surgery, it's been a couple of years. Obviously, he's trying to build back and be better here after having the Tommy John surgery, but that's very encouraging, I think, for Padres fans and for the Padres that Walker Buehler is finally starting to play and feel good for the first time. So how did he think his first outing went in the Cactus League with the pitch usage and working with teams pitching coaches, and had a little bit of a time where he was just really waiting around for a while? I mean, that was a big 12-run second inning for his offense. Here's what Walker Buehler had to say about how he thought the outing went.
Good to get the first one out of the way. Obviously, a couple little long innings in there. Our offense was on a different kind of plan today, but it's good to get the first one out of the way and kind of build on it. I like a lot of the shapes, and velocity is a little under kind of where we want to be, but we got a few weeks to kind of get that ironed out. So all in all, a good day.
What are the things you're working on this spring?
Trying to get some rhythm back in the delivery. I think in years past, I just was kind of stuck in this rehab-ish throw and have had a really tough time getting out of it, and had a really good off season, have had a really good spring training in terms of kind of talking through the delivery and getting my arm back up to the height that I want it to be in terms of arm angle. I think I've been down about 8 or 10 degrees for the past 2 or 3 years from where I was when I was really good. And, I don't think you can force that kind of stuff. I think the delivery has to do it. And I feel good with where that all is right now. So now we're kind of refining and hoping to get a few miles an hour out of it. But other than that, I feel pretty good.
I know it's spring. Is there anything to read into the usage or just like the pitches that you are throwing when you're throwing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I can survive being a 65% four-seam fastball guy anymore, and not many guys can. And I'm fortunate that I've been around a lot of really good coaching, and luckily my hand lets me do kind of a variety of things. We put in a new slider and a new sweeper this week, so we're pretty happy with both of those. And it's a process, and got a few weeks to kind of see what's what, but I feel good about where I'm at.
Did you throw those in the game?
Mm-hmm.
Did you? You said you liked your shapes. I mean, were they significantly?
Yeah, the harder one, location wasn't quite where we want to be. They were all kind of up and at the top left of the zone, but Got I think 2 of the strikeouts were on the sweeper, and it's something I threw a ton back in 21, 22 when I was kind of coming up, but haven't quite had the elbow to do it until recently. And all in all, I think for me, feeling healthy and feeling like I can go and execute and go get people out as opposed to trying to get them to get themselves out, I think is a big mentality switch for me. And a lot of that is just feeling healthy and feeling like myself.
I know it's only been a couple of weeks so far, but what's the general experience been like working with Ruben and his staff?
It's good. I think now that this is my 4th organization, I have a little more experience dealing with different views and different verbiage and things like that. But, I think we're in that middle ground between learning each other and trying to really put together a plan. But, there's some stuff that I like to do or the ways that I like to think about it that I think he's feeling out with me and kind of vice versa. So all in all, been a good start, and we'll just keep building.
A lot of interesting things said by Walker Buehler there. And he obviously liked a lot of things about his pitch makeup and the way his pitches looked, except for the fastball. And let's take a deeper dive into what exactly came out with the overall data from yesterday's outing from Walker Buehler. We're going to do this for most of the starting pitchers, especially the ones coming back, to try to kind of shape up what Major League, what the rotation might potentially look like. And if it's a sign of optimism or maybe something lingering in there as well. But when we look at his grade that he got with his overall pitch data, we did this with Joe Musgrove. And again, that video is up on YouTube. If you want to go check it out and see a deeper dive into how we evaluate some of the things that have been posted by the data that has been collected on Walker Buehler. Again, the overall data for Walker Buehler's outing yesterday suggests that Buehler's stuff looked close to league average, but his breaking ball was his best weapon. If you look at the main takeaways from yesterday, and he mentioned a lot of it, fastball velocity slightly below where Walker Buehler wants it to be and where Walker Buehler usually has it at. Sweeper generated a lot of swing and miss. And what's interesting to me, Frank, they added that pitch this week. And he got a lot of good use out of that pitch this week. Now, maybe it's because they've never seen it before and it's spring training. You're not taking a lot of too much preparation in that, but that's a good sign. I mean, that's the touch of Ruben Niebla and the pitching staff right there. He had a good pitch mix yesterday, and the whiff rate was pretty solid. So for a spring training outing, the underlying stuff looked competitive, but it didn't look very dominant. But it's to be expected, Frank, when you look at what he did yesterday, on top of the fact that it's his first outing back, first stadium outing, if you will, first Cactus League outing, and he's coming off of that injury, and this is the first time his elbows felt good, as he said before we got to this point.
Yeah, like we said yesterday with Joe Musgrove, it's not necessarily about the line, it's how he feels today and how he feels tomorrow. That's what you're looking for right now. And from what everything we've heard, he said yesterday he feels great, he feels normal. I'm assuming today I haven't seen anyone post anything to say otherwise, so I'm assuming that he's feeling normal and all right today. Same thing with Joe Musgrove. So those are all very, very encouraging signs going into this season if Walker Buehler does make this team.
I'm a little bit interested to see how the fastball works moving forward, but let's take a look. Top line game stats. Those are in the top right corner of this graphic. 3 innings, 2 earned runs, 2 hits, 4 strikeouts, had to walk. Pretty clean line for Walker Buehler. Again, he had to sit for a very long time in the second inning because the Padres put up 12 runs. Very uncharacteristic outing for most guys. But only 2 hits allowed and 4 strikeouts. That's a pretty good sign in terms of his overall regular stat line. If you look at the left graphic, the release point, this is what you're looking for: consistency and repeatable arm slot. This graph shows where the ball leaves his hand on the release. And based on Buehler's release cluster, it's still very tight, which means mechanics look consistent, no obvious arm slot issues, delivery repeatable. Arm slot shows about 50 degrees, which is a high 3/4 slot, typical for a guy like Walker Buehler. It's not as tight as Joe Musgrove's was yesterday or a couple of days ago, but Walker Buehler still very consistent in his release point.
Yeah, that's what you're looking for. We mentioned it with Joe Musgrove yesterday. You want to make sure he's back throwing where and the way he normally does. because that means he's not either knowingly or unknowingly messing with his mechanics to make sure his elbow, to make sure he doesn't hurt himself, to make sure he doesn't feel any pain. So he might still be just Buehler might just still be trying to figure out, get his normal arm slot back, but it's still a tight release point. Like, it's not like he's up here one pitch and then he's down here the next, and he's within a normal, genuine range.
Let's talk about the middle part of that chart. Again, if you're tuned in, listening, driving around in your car, you could go see this video again, see the graphic that we have are using on YouTube, and check it out at YouTube, or go to youtube.com/@B_SURP. We'll have all these videos separate for you on the Braden Surprenant YouTube page. Joe Musgroves is up there from his first start of spring, and we're going to continue to do this. I'll have a recap of Herman Marquez on Monday as he pitches tonight. But let's go back to the middle part chart, and this is how each pitch moves. This is the shape he was talking about. He liked the shape of his pitches yesterday, and if you look at that sheet, red's four-seam fastball, green is changeup, yellow is sinker, purple is knuckle curve, orange is the cutter, and the blue is the sweeper and the slider part of the repertoire that Walker Buehler has. And what this tells us is his pitch show clear separation and movement, which is good. Hitters are seeing rising fastball, they're seeing big sweepers, they're seeing a dropping curveball, and they're seeing arm side run on sinker and changeup. And the variety is key to his pitch mix approach, which you could see on the right part of the graph. And the right part says 25% four-seam usage. And we heard him talk about this too in the post game. He said he's the guy that's going to have to mix in more pitches now. He can't just rely on that fastball. And you started to see that yesterday. Four-seam fastball, 25%. Then he threw his changeup and his sweeper 15% each. He threw his sinker 13%, his cutter 13%, knuckle curve 11%, threw that slider 9%, which confirms something very important. Buehler threw 7 different pitches, and this is a pitch lab style sequencing, not just a 3-pitch mix. And for a guy like Walker Buehler, that's the stuff that you need as a pitcher that is a little bit older now. Somebody's had a couple Tommy John surgeries, and one that might not have that 97-mile-an-hour fastball anymore.
Yeah, you got to work. You got to figure out a way to work with what you have at that point, and that sounds like he's still trying to figure out what he has, because he's gone with pain for so long, and now he's finally throwing without it. He's trying to get closer and closer to he's inching closer and closer to what he used to be able to do, and seeing if there's any pain. And then if there isn't, he knows now that he can go and do what he used to do.
Let's talk about the big important thing, though. It's the velocity. 92.4 miles an hour is his average fastball velocity. Prime Walker Buehler was 95, 97. So a little lighter than peak velocity, but not alarming for a spring training and early buildup. Other speeds, his changeup was at 86, sweeper was at 81, knuckle curve was 76, which is good velocity separation between pitches, which is ultimately what you want to see. In terms of spin rate, sweeper 2,664 RPMs, strong spin rate for a sweeping slider, knuckle curve 2,547 RPM, solid curveball spin. So spin rates are pretty good. Here's what I really wanted to drop in there too, is his induced vertical break, which measures how much a pitch resists gravity. And for a fastball, you want that thing higher than 15 inches. And if you get it about 18 inches or higher, it's elite. That's what Nick Pavetta's fastball is at. His fastball, despite it not being very high in velo, 17.9 inches in the induced vertical break, which is excellent ride out of the fastball, meaning hitters perceive the fastball is staying up longer, even though velocity is lower. The shape is good. That's really encouraging for Walker Buehler's fastball, is that induced vertical break.
Yeah, and again, that's what we discussed yesterday with Musgrove. His induced vertical break wasn't as high as Buehler's was, but to see that Buehler's getting that spin on his fastball that's able to keep it up where it is for longer, that is also a very, very good sign.
Horizontal break, how much the pitch moves sideways, as we've talked about, his sinker went 14.7 inches. That's big arm side run. His sweeper, negative 13.3 inches. Massive horizontal sweep. This pitch likely his best weapon in the future. It looked good. And when we come back, we'll talk about some of the other things that involve his pitch quality, his pro stuff, plus as we break down Walker Buehler's overall synopsis of how he did yesterday. Braden Surprenant Show continues. Standing Summer Sports Station, 97.3 The Fan. $11 broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios. We know how. We're recapping what happened yesterday with Walker Buehler and his overall pitch metrics from yesterday. And I really want to, since we kind of ran out of time, I'll just kind of recap and we'll put that graphic back up there. But when we look at what Walker Buehler did yesterday, and you look at the overall data, again, his stuff looked close to league average, but his breaking ball was his best weapon. And the main takeaways from Walker Buehler yesterday was fastball velocity, slightly below prime Buehler. Sweeper generated a lot of swing and miss. Good pitch mix. Whiff rate was solid. And for a spring outing, the underlying stuff looked competitive, but not dominant. You look at the top right of the screen, it gives you the game stats. And again, 3 innings, 2 earned runs, 2 hits, 4 strikeouts, a walk, no home runs. Pretty clean line for a guy like Walker Buehler. Only 2 hits allowed and 4 strikeouts. If you look at the left graphic, the release point, you're looking for consistency and repeatable arm slot. And this graphic shows where the ball leaves his hand. Buehler's release cluster is tight, which means mechanics look consistent, no obvious arm slot issues, delivery is very repeatable, and the arm slot shows about a 50-degree angle, which is a 3/4 slot that is typical form for Walker Buehler. You look at the middle chart. This is the movement profile. We heard Walker Buehler talk about this in his post-game interview about how he liked the pitch shape of all of his pitches. And you look at the colored clusters, and each colored cluster is a different pitch shape. The red is the 4-seam fastball. The green is the changeup. Yellow's the sinker. Purple's the knuckle curve. Orange is the cutter. Blue's the sweeper and slider family. So both of those pitches are in that particular category. And what this tells us is his pitch show clear separation and movement, which is good because hitters are seeing a rising fastball. They're seeing big sweepers, which, by the way, is a pitch that he put in this week, as he mentioned in the post-game press conference. Dropping curveball, arm side run on sinker and changeup, and the variety is key to his pitch mix approach, which, as he talked about in the post-game, was something that he needs to really rely on because his breaking ball stuff was some of his best stuff yesterday, and he knows based on velocity of his fastball, which we're going to get to, he can't be a guy that relies on a fastball 50% of the time. He threw his fastball yesterday 25% of the time. He threw 7 pitches yesterday, 7 different types of pitches. His changeup, he threw 15%. His sweeper, he threw 15%. The sinker and the cutter both came in at 13% usage. He threw his knuckle curve 11% of the time, and he threw his slider 9%, which confirms something important with Walker Buehler. He threw 7 different pitches, as I mentioned. This is the pitch lab style sequencing, not just a 3-pitch mix, which is good for a guy like Walker Buehler. Now, to the velocity. Velocity was not good on the fastball. 92.4 average velocity. You look at that, not great because of the fact that prime Walker Buehler is 95, 97. So a little lighter than the peak velocity you're used to seeing for Walker Buehler. But it's not alarming for spring training, and it's not alarming for early buildup. And as he mentioned in the postgame with Sam Levitt that we just played in the last hour, this is something that he's going to work on for the rest of spring, is getting that built up a little bit. But the other speeds are way different, and there's a good velocity separation between pitches, which is great for pitch sequencing. Changeup was at 86, sweeper was at 81, knuckle curve was at 76. So even though he's throwing his fastball at 92, those other pitches are coming in way slower than his fastball, which is a good mix-up as a pitcher. Now, we were kind of on the spin rate a little bit before we got cut off on the last segment. So what spin rate does is it creates movement with the pitch. So key examples yesterday for Walker Buehler. He threw his sweeper, brand new pitch, by the way. Just put in a new sweeper this week from the horse's mouth. He had 2,664 RPMs on his sweeper, which is strong spin for a sweeping slider. His knuckle curve, 2,547 RPMs. That's solid curveball spin out of the knuckle curve, which is good news for Walker Buehler. So far, spin rates look really good, but the fastball velocity wasn't great. Here's the caveat to that, though. Induced vertical break. That measures how much the pitch resists gravity. That's what that stat means. And all you need to look for in an induced vertical break is if it's above 15 inches, it's good. If it's above 18 inches, it's elite. His fastball yesterday, 17.9 inches on the induced vertical break. That is excellent ride on his fastball. The hitters think the fastball is rising on their eyes, which changes the path of their swing, but it's not. It just gives the perception of that. So the hitters are perceiving the fastball staying up longer, but it's not. It's still falling as it's coming into the plate. And even though the velocity is lower, the shape of the fastball is good. That is a positive sign for a guy who, by the way, mentioned still in his post-game interview that the first time he has not felt any pain in his elbow was 4 weeks ago. Horizontal break. This is how much a pitch moves sideways. His sinker, 14.7 inches. That is big arm side run for his sinker. His sweeper, negative 13.3 inches. That's massive horizontal sweep. And this pitch was likely his best weapon, which is interesting to me, Frank, because his best pitch yesterday, he mentioned, and we've said it multiple times, they just put in this week. That's a great sign for a guy like Ruben Niebla, the pitching coach.
And I think you also hit on part of the reason why is that no one's seen him throw that pitch, so it's not what's expected when you see Walker Buehler. So there is a little bit of deception as it comes to that pitch, but yeah, it is a very good sign because I mean you could not have seen the pitch before and know not to swing at it because it looks like garbage, but they were taking hacks at it, and the pitch looked good too.
Let's talk about his extension. We talked a little bit about this with Joe Musgrove yesterday. It's how far down the mound he releases the ball. For Walker Buehler, it's 6.3 feet, which is good extension, and that helps make that 92-mile-an-hour fastball play a little faster to the hitter's eyes. That's big when you're not, hitting the high velocity that you used to hit, in your prime. And I still think his velocity is going to go up a little bit during spring. Now, in terms of his pitch quality metric, his pro stuff plus, again, all of these metrics out there, and we're trying to break it down for you so you can understand a little bit more when you see some of these stats at ballparks. Because, Frank, they're starting to show a lot of these analytics at ballparks. And at Petco, I see these numbers all the time, and I go, what do these things mean? But we're going to try to help that a little bit more. So when you look at the Pro Stuff Plus, it's really telling you how good the pitch is. And when you look at the scale, anytime you see a graphic in baseball that comes with a plus sign at the end of it, what that means is it's comparing it to everybody else in Major League Baseball. And the average player in Major League Baseball in all of those statistical categories, so it could be ERA plus, it could be WRC plus, it could be OPS plus, whatever it may be, just know that 100 is an MLB average player. So anything over that's going to be above average for a major league player, and anything below that will be below average. So here's Walker Buehler's pitches. His sweeper was a 110 on the Pro Stuff Plus. I mean, so we could, and I think it's a little bit of a factor about his pitch being the most effective with the fact that nobody has seen it, but I want to say that the fact that his 110, he got a 110 on the Pro Stuff Plus for his sweeper, which is in the excellent elite category, Frank, and he just started throwing it this week. I think that's a huge sign to why, he's probably getting the benefit of the doubt that nobody's seen it, but at the same time, there's a lot of life to this particular pitch for Walker Buehler.
Yeah, like I said, it's you can go out there and surprise people with it, but if it looks bad and if it's not doing what the pitch is meant to do, then you're not going to be fooling anyone. So he definitely has got something spinning and working with that pitch that is making it as good and as deceptive as it is, just beyond nobody having seen the pitch before.
So as we continue through this, sweeper was excellent. Sinker was 103, slightly above average. Knuckle curve 102, slightly above average in the Pro Stuff Plus. Slider was about 100, about an average deal. His changeup was under, his fastball was under. The key takeaway from this was His breaking ball stuff graded the best. Fastball graded slightly below average. That's something that could be improved on. When you look at his whiff rate, swing and miss stuff, how often hitters miss when swinging. Sweeper was at 60% whiff rate. Elite swing and miss. His sinker was at 50%, also very strong. Changeup, 25% solid. And his overall 33% whiff rate, very, very good out of Walker Buehler, which is a very encouraging sign out of his first outing in a Padres uniform in a stadium game. When you look at the run value, that is how effective a pitch is at preventing runs. Negative numbers are good. Positive numbers, not so good. The sweeper, negative 2.5. Again, the sweeper for Walker Buehler was electric yesterday. Something to be encouraged about. Changeup, negative 1.9. Fastball was plus 1.1. Fastball was the least effective pitch in his outing. The good news is the induced vertical break on that fastball, but overall, got to get the velo up a little bit for Walker Buehler. So the analytics say his breaking ball arsenal looks sharp. The fastball wasn't dominant, and that's pretty normal profile for an early spring and a pitcher building velocity.
Yeah, I mean, a solid spring training start for him, and I'm sure accomplished most of the goals that he was setting out for. Maybe missed on a couple, but overall a very, very good outing, if not for him and a Padre career, very good outing as far as, his overall career in baseball health is concerned.
Yeah, Walker Buehler's outing yesterday was actually pretty encouraging when you look at the pitch data. Fastball velocity was a little lighter at about 92, but the shape was still good, and his breaking ball looked nasty. His sweeper generated a 60% swing and miss rate and graded as his best pitch of the night. Overall, his stuff graded almost exactly league average, which for early spring is a good sign that he's trending toward being a reliable rotation arm. So the three takeaways you have to get out of this. 1, sweeper was his best pitch, 60% whiff rate, excellent movement. 2, fastball velocity slightly down, 92 miles an hour versus mid-90s peak. And 3, he had a very deep pitch mix yesterday, 7 pitches and solid swing and miss overall. The bottom line, Walker Buehler looked like a pitcher still building towards peak form, but the swing and miss stuff was already there. That's an encouraging sign as Walker Buehler tries to be the 5th starter of the San Diego Padres. When we come back, Freddy Fermín, he's ready to take the spotlight a little bit. We'll discuss further when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's Urban Sports Station, 97.3 The Fan. It was a gritty, emotional week for the San Diego Gulls. 3 games, 2 overtimes, 4 total points on the table, and they grabbed 3 of them. And let's start at home. Overtime heartbreak versus Tucson. Gulls dropped a 2-1 overtime decision to the Roadrunners at Pechanga Arena, but it was another night where the goaltending stood tall. Callie Klang stopped 26 of 28 and flat out kept them in the game. Ryan Carpenter opened the scoring off of a feed from Justin Bailey. Carpenter now has 5 points in his last 4 games and 30 on the season. Tucson tied it late. They won it in overtime, but the Gulls still grabbed a point, and they're now 4-0-1-1 against Tucson this season, and that's not an accident.
No, absolutely not. They have been very, very good against Tucson. You could tell sometimes when a team just has your number, and it appears as though the Gulls just have the number of the Tucson Roadrunners.
On to the defensive statement in Texas. Then came the road trip. They knocked off the Texas Stars 2-1 in a disciplined playoff-style game. Klang again, rock solid. 28 of 29 saves. Now 13 wins on the season. 2.51 goals against average. Confidence is really radiating through this lineup.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And Nathan Gauthier answered Texas's early goal in the second, matching last season's goal total already this year. Justin Bailey hit the game winner. Big stat now is Bailey has now has 18 goals. 6 of those 18 goals are game winners, which is tied for second in the entirety of the American Hockey League. That is clutch production. And head coach Matt McIlvain called it a sound defensive effort as well. And that's really starting to become the identity of the San Diego Gulls team.
Let's talk about this 6-5 overtime loss. The Saturday night, the chaos ensued. 6-5 overtime loss to Texas in a back-and-forth shootout. Power play goals, shorthanded rush but from Tyson Hines, 2 goals from Nicolas Brulard, a fight from Ronald McEwen, 30 saves from Thomas Susanic, This one had everything. They led, they trailed, they tied it late to force overtime, but Texas finished it still 3 of 4 points on the road in Texas. That's significant. You'll take it if you're the Goals right now.
Yeah, that is a huge, huge swing as far as the points are, as far as the standings are concerned. We talked about it being buried down in 6th place, but being very, very close to a big swing, and to be able to take 3 out of 4 from Texas is absolutely huge for this season for the Gulls.
Bigger picture, the Gulls are defending better right now. They're getting elite level goaltending from Kling, and they're finding timely scoring. They rank first in the AHL in shots per game. They're disciplined. They're playing tighter defensively than earlier in the year, but they're still struggling to close out high event games. And when it becomes wide open, they give up too much. When it's tight and structured, they thrive. That's a maturity thing. But this is a team that's very young and a team that finally gets to settle in. We've talked about this a lot on the Goals updates. The Ducks are doing really well with young talent, and they are now a point out or a couple points out from first place in the Pacific Division, which means they don't have to keep pulling up players to help their team and compete at an NHL level. They have their core, and it's young, which means there's not a lot of places for these San Diego Gulls to go in advance. There might be a couple that come up and help and then come back down. But with that being said, this is a team that can finally start playing good hockey together as a unison. And now you might be getting sent down good players instead of sending all of your best players up to the NHL parent club.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing that really stands out for me there is that they're ranking first in shots per game in the league. The more shots you get, the more likely it is for one of those shots to at least go in. And they've gotten a lot of timely goals, and we've seen over the last month or so of doing this, they've had a lot of high-scoring games, and a lot of that has to do with those high shot totals. So the fact that they're putting the puck on the net on a consistent basis night after night really shows how potent this offense is, and the fact that it's really helping them score goals. And also, you can't forget about the guy at the back.
Yeah, Kling's doing an unbelievable job for the Gulls this season. The Gulls currently in 6th place. That is a playoff spot. They have the lead over the Tucson Roadrunners, who are in the final playoff spot in the Pacific Division. And they've done really well against the Roadrunners, as I mentioned earlier in this update. They haven't lost to them yet in regulation. So something to pay attention to is they have 4 wins, no losses against the Roadrunners, 1 overtime loss and 1 shootout loss to Tucson. And they're right there in the thick of things in the Pacific Division. They're 12 games out of first place from Ontario, 11 from Colorado. But then you start looking, they're 6 points behind the Barracuda in 3rd place, which puts you in a position to host. And it's very beneficial for you in the AHL playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just 3 games. You get 2 points for a win. You get 1 point if you go into extra time, into overtime or a shootout, or if you lose in a shootout, doesn't matter. You still get that 1 point. So that's really.
Broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios, we know how. A reminder for everybody, listen at 1 o'clock for us to announce today's biggest fan for a chance to qualify for a night in our Odyssey suite at a future Padres game with all the fan staff. Register your name at 972thefansd.com/biggest-fan in order to potentially have your name called. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each and every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Freddy Fermín, ready for the spotlight. Freddy Fermín, acquired by the Padres last year. Freddy Fermín, part of this catching duo that is really, would you consider this the least talked about position group of spring training? I would say so.
And for good reason, too.
Yeah. I mean, for the last, I don't know how many years, the catching position has been a massive question mark for the San Diego Padres. Being able to find a catcher to be able to, I don't know, be a guy that can hit, be somebody that could be part of this equation on a daily basis, be a guy that's a good receiver at the same time. And this is the first time in camp in, I think, a long time where the Padres don't have any question marks, really, at the catching position. The only one that you could really discuss is whether or not Luis Camposano is going to have what it takes to be a backup catcher. But Freddy Fermín is finally getting his chance. And I want to talk a little bit more about Freddy. He spent years as the backup catcher to Salvador Perez in Kansas City. In 2026, this season, it will mark it marks his first spring as the undisputed starting catcher. And the Padres acquired him at the 2025 deadline for a playoff push. Padres traded 2 controllable pitchers for a guy like Freddy Fermín. That move signals real belief that Freddy Fermín can handle the job and be an everyday catcher, something that he hasn't done yet in his career. After the trade, Freddy Fermín had to adjust quickly, obviously, a new organization, new system, 18 different pitchers he had to learn. And early on, he looked to the dugout for pitch calling help. By September, according to Ruben Niebla, he was confidently running the pitching staff himself. A big part of Freddy Fermín's role, managing personalities on the mound. According to Joe Musgrove, some pitchers need calming down, others need to be challenged or fired up. And Fermín's strength, he actively seeks out information about how to handle each pitcher. Now, the offensive question still exists. Early Padres performance in his first 10 games, he had 364, the 400 on base, and a 485 slug. And in the later months, kind of fell off a little bit. In August, he had a 621 OPS, and in September, had a 611 OPS. He could have been fatigued. It could have been because he was learning a new pitching staff. It could have been mental and physical, and the mental and physical toll of the increased workload he had for the first time ever. But now is the biggest test for Freddy Fermín. It's endurance. And Fermín admitted the transition was demanding. Catching every day requires physical durability, mental preparation, pitch calling expertise, leadership in the clubhouse. And for the first time in his career, Freddy Fermín must prove he can handle all 4 consistently for a full season, which puts a little bit of pressure on Luis Camposano to be able to give Fermín some breaks. So, with a lot of stuff going on with this organization and the pressure that Freddy Fermín has on this team of being a big impact player, there's a lot of questions that come up with Freddy Fermín about the Padres catching situation. Like, did the Padres give up too much to acquire Freddy Fermín if he turns out to be an average catcher? I don't necessarily know if Freddy Fermín is going to be an average catcher, though, Frank. I think he is a good, solid, everyday catcher. But the big concern is going to be, can he make it through the entire season as the starter? That's going to be the big concern for a guy like Freddy Fermín. I think he could do it. I'm curious how his offseason program worked, but if he could hit like he did yesterday and how he's been doing in the spring, another big ad for the Padres going into 2026.
There are guys that you have concerns about going into camp, and Freddy Fermín, to me, just knowing the learning tree that he sat under, I have no concerns at all about Freddy Fermín and his readiness, his preparation going into this season. I have a feeling he's got this opportunity for the first time after learning from Salvador Perez his entire career. He is going to take this and succeed. He is going to take this and run with it. I have more questions about whether or not Manny and Fernando will be ready for the season than I do about Freddy Fermín. I don't have any question in my mind that he will be.
I don't think he's an average catcher either. I think he's going to be a above average catcher, and I think he's going to be okay. I think the endurance thing will be a big test, and you're not going to know about the endurance until like July, August, right? I mean, those are the months where it just starts to build and build and build. So I think the importance of the catching position is importance for the Padres' success this year. I'm not really worried about Freddy Fermín. I'm more in on the Luis Camposano situation. And we talked about Luis a couple of weeks ago. It seems like he has a new lease on life. Luis seems like his mindset has changed a little bit. I think it's going to take some time for Camposano to really unlock what's been missing for him at the major league level for some time. But as much as I would see like Austin Hedges rake in spring training and then not do anything in the regular season, you can't overly analyze a lot of the stats that have come out of spring training, like Luis Camposano's offensive numbers so far in spring. I mean, even yesterday with the 27 runs that they scored, that's fun. Wynn's blowing every ball out of the ballpark yesterday. So I don't think you could value a lot of that stuff. It's all about, are they comfortable at the plate? Are they getting the good swings in? Are they making solid contact? Are they barreling baseballs? And here's my take on Luis Campusano. He's in there to facilitate Freddy Fermín day games after night. After a couple of days in a row where Freddy Fermín's starting, he's there to be the backup catcher. You don't need a guy like Luis Campusano to hit 300. Be nice for him to hit like 250, whatever. But the catching position, Frank, never really has a big offensive number. And for a guy like Luis Campusano to fill in, that's what he's going to do. He's going to be a backup catcher.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not really all that concerned about the catching position, and that's why it's been the least talked about position at Padre campus. There really are no questions. I mean, you're by wondering whether or not Campusano or Fermín are going to be ready for the roles that they're in. That's looking for a reason to be worried about the catcher position, at least in my opinion. They are going to be solid. They are going to be just fine. I have no doubt in my mind.
Here's the thing. I want to ask the question, like, because I get this all the time. I mean, Johnny's in there, Prolific's in the chat. What are you worried about with Luis Campusano at this point in the career? What would you be worried about? Like, what are the reasons why you'd be worried about Luis Campusano? What are you worried he will be unable to do? What are you worried that he'd be unable to do, Frank? I mean, like, what are some reasons that you'd be worried about Luis Campusano? Because he was promised to be a top player and he's a top prospect and he's not going to be your everyday starter? I mean, hey, at this point, Luis Campusano is a backup catcher right now. He's going to be, I think, slightly better productive than most backup catchers. And what do backup catchers usually hit? What do they usually hit?
Only hit about 200.
If that. They hit like under 200. Now, I'm not saying that justifies Luis Campusano's spot by any means. It'd be a lot better for him to be a little bit better, but he's not the starter.
Yeah, no, we're just saying don't expect him to be hitting like 350. That's really all we're saying out of a backup.
He's a backup catcher now. Backup catcher production's not high. I mean, I don't even think you should be worried about Luis Campusano in any type of faction, because if he doesn't work out, guess what? You could go find another one of him if he's a backup catcher for relatively cheap to do the exact same thing he currently does. That's why it's like, I don't know why you would be worried about him anymore. He's played into what he is now, a backup catcher. So I think a lot of people that have been worried about Luis Campusano, I don't know why you'd be worried about him. Not everybody in your team is going to be a guy that rakes. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. Let's get out to Brad and Escondido. Brad, you're on the Braden Surprenant Show. What's going on?
Boys, how we doing?
I'm doing well.
All right. What I like about Fermín, being a Padre fan for a lot of years, is his ability to throw runners out. We haven't seen that since Benito. Even Campusano couldn't throw guys out. I know our pitchers take forever to get rid of balls, but last year Fermín actually threw guys out on a regular basis. That's what you need. And Campusano is a 4A player, which makes him a good backup in the majors.
100%. 100%. I appreciate the phone call, Brad. Yeah, I just, the calls, I mean, I had Johnny texted me the other day about Luis Campusano not hitting. I'm like, it doesn't affect the team right now. You got to rely on Freddy Fermín, and you need Campusano every couple of days to just not be incompetent, which I don't think is asking too much, Frank. I really don't.
No, exactly right. And he's a major leaguer. He won't be incompetent.
No, he's going to be fine. The guy's done a really good job hitting in the minor leagues. I know sometimes it doesn't always translate. I think last year he didn't get a lot of opportunity. I think this year they're giving him a lot more opportunity. And we'll see in the regular season, because in spring training, it doesn't really matter. And by the way, you should be more concerned about Ethan Salas than anything else, and you should be locked into how he develops. But what is he, 20?
Just as I see that, more confident in Salas hitting than Campusano. Salas has not played a full season in his professional career yet.
Correct. also a major factor.
He played 10 games last year.
I know.
And then was done for the season. Played the first 10 games and was done.
Your backup catcher last year was who? Martin Maldonado is considered a backup?
Yeah. Martin Maldonado.
He hit 204.
Elias Diaz. I mean, it's...
Elias Diaz last year hit 204 also. They hit the same. Diaz got on a couple more times more than Martin Maldonado did. He just has to be better than that. So it's not really something to worry about too much. I mean, start going through the list of like backup catchers for the Padres and see what they did. That's why it's like the Luis Camposano conversation isn't really part of it anymore, in my opinion. Luis Camposano actually in 2024 got more starts at catcher than Kyle Higashioka did. Kyle Higashioka at 220. He was brought in to be a backup catcher. Camposano at 227. Camposano actually did better offensively than Kyle Higashioka, except for the power numbers, which was a big concern, and he missed a lot of time. That's if you look at the averages. You look at the 2023 season for the Padres. Gary Sanchez ended up being your starting catcher. He was, right? Everybody thought he was great. Had a great year with home runs, 19 homers. He hit 218. Camposano that year got enough starts, or should I say appearances, as the backup. He hit 319 in 163 at-bats. It's not like Luis Camposano has always not hit. Austin Nola that year hit 146. I mean, you start looking at what some of these backup catchers have done, it's right around the 200 spot when it comes to averages, and you're hoping that the OPS is over 600. Be better if it's over 500 for most of these catchers. But I like Freddy Fermín. I think Freddy Fermín's in a good spot. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Freddy Fermín makes it to an entire season for the first time, because this is the big tester for Freddy Fermín. But as Frank mentioned, and I agree with this, I'm not overly concerned about Freddy Fermín being an everyday catcher. I'm really not. Scores for you in the WBC. Venezuela is now up 6-2 on the Netherlands. They're in the top of the 7th inning. How's Xander Bogaerts doing? I'm waiting for it to load. I can pass that along to you. Xander Bogaerts today, 1 for 4 with a strikeout. He's hitting 250. That's the only player that you have to worry about in that game for the Padres. Mexico is still up 1-0 after the solo shot that was hit in the 2nd inning over Great Britain. And then we've had a couple of games go final. Cuba knocks off Panama 3-1. And earlier this morning, Japan ruled Chinese Taipei 13-0. Next game starting up 3:00 will be Puerto Rico and Colombia, and 4:00 Nicaragua and Dominican Republic. At 5:00 it will be the United States and Brazil, and then 7:00 tonight will be Chinese Taipei and Czechia. And that is a look at the WBC. When we come back, I want to dive into a couple other things that involve Major League Baseball. So when we come back, we're going to take a look at some of the tiers in MLB, and we'll also get to our sports thread as we continue on the Braden Surprenant Show, Standing Summer Sports Station 97 through the Fan. Dramatic week across the board for the Toreros. Record-setting shooting nights, blown leads, emotional senior day moments, walk-off baseball games, and a softball bounce back. Now everything shifts towards postseason play and conference positioning. Let's break it down for USD. Let's start with men's basketball. Historic shooting, tough finishes. The headline game of the week came on the road against the Oregon State Beavers. USD erased an 8-point deficit in the final 39 seconds of regulation, drilling 4 3-pointers in that span to force overtime. Part of a program record 18 made threes on 43 attempts. Tenari Lane had a career-high 24 points. Juanse Gorosito added 17. 12 of USD's second-half field goals were from beyond the arc, but at overtime, 0 for 7 from 3, 4 total points. Oregon State won 92-82, which led to a weekend game against Portland, Frank.
Yeah, in that weekend game against Portland, USD led by 14 points in the second half before surrendering a 22-0 run in an 87-74 loss. Torero shot 53% and dished 24 assists, but turnovers in the second half, defensive breakdowns absolutely flipped that game around.
And the result of that is San Diego will play in the first round of the West Coast Conference tournament, something they've been trying to avoid the entire season, and playing on that Thursday night, which is very tough to do because they're going to have to play 6 games in a row if they want to, if they want to win the West Coast Conference tournament. So one game at a time, but a tough seed. They got the 11 seed in the WCC tournament. And we'll see what happens in the final kind of games of the Steve Lavin era before they decide to hire a brand new head coach for basketball. Women's basketball, senior day response. I think the women's team has been gritty all season long. They've hung tough all season long. They had a tough outing against Oregon State last Thursday, who is one of the best teams in the conference. And if it wasn't for a 3-game losing streak, the Oregon State Beavers would have been right there for West Coast Conference championship. Instead, LMU wins it, who the women's team for USD actually beat this year at home at the Jenny Craig Pavilion. But that was a tough game. Oregon State's got length. They got tall players, a lot bigger size than USD's women's team. They beat them 83-49 after what was a slow start and a difficult fourth quarter. But senior day told a different story. They honored 2 seniors on senior day, the Rhodes sisters, Haley Rhodes and Jaden Rhodes. Haley Rhodes had 18 points in the game, was the player of the game, but it wasn't just her. A couple of freshmen, Frank, also did really well, and Olivia Owens and Jessica Ajayi. Yeah,
Olivia Owens had 17 points, 10 rebounds, double-double for her, and then Ajayi goes out there and hits the go-ahead 3 as USD was able to rally late against Pacific, 64-59, closing out the regular season on a very emotional high before heading to the West Coast Conference tournament in Vegas.
They also will open up on a Thursday. Their game will be at 2:30 on Thursday in round 1 of the West Coast Conference tournament. There was a lot of chaos in the WCC for women's basketball, but USD wasn't going to be able, they weren't going to fall nor gain a spot with the result on Saturday. Baseball had a tough week after a really good start to the year. They lost to UCSD on Tuesday in a 4-hour and 50-minute game over at Triton Ballpark. They answered that with a walk-off win in extra innings of their own. So they had back-to-back games of 10 innings where they were able to knock down Michigan on a C.J. Moran walk-off single. After that, tough sledding for the Toreros against the Michigan team that looked like they were very angry after the first night.
Yeah, they lost the next 2 games, 9-0 and then 9-2. Bright spots, though, Aiden Howard extending his on-base streak to 11 games. Connor Meidroth, has a hit in every single appearance so far, and also crowd showing up as well. 4 straight 1,000-plus members in the crowd for a non-conference weekend for USD baseball. That's rarefied air for them.
Yeah, they had a big student section presence on Friday night. I mean, more than 1,200 fans packed Fowler Park, and a lot of students in the bullpit that were giving Michigan a lot of problems. I heard a lot of stories about the Michigan players having a bad time with a lot of frat guys over there for USD. So rowdy crowd on Friday led to a win. Didn't have the rowdy crowd on Saturday and Sunday, but still had a lot of good people there at Fowler Park. A tough weekend series, but San Diego will try to bounce back. This week against Cal, it's a 4-game series that starts on Friday. They're going to play a game Friday, a doubleheader on Saturday, and the game on Sunday up at Berkeley before playing USC next Wednesday at brand new Dado Field after it was remodeled. So a lot of opportunities for the Toreros still early in non-conference play. As for softball, early punch, strong rebound. Softball opened the week with a 5-0 loss to crosstown rival San Diego State after surrendering 3 first-inning homers. We talked about that on the Aztecs portion of these breakdowns. USD then beat Cal Poly 6-1 after being behind a 5-run inning sparked by Mal. All guests, join us on the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not big bank banking. It's better. We got WBC going on right now throughout the world. Pool A is in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Pool B in Houston. Pool C in Tokyo. And Pool D in Miami. Got some games currently playing right now. It's a tight one between Great Britain and Mexico. Mexico leads 1-0 over Great Britain. And Venezuela pulling away. They put up a 4-run inning in the 5th to go up 6-2 on the Netherlands. So we'll see how that game plays out. Didi Gregorius is now up to bat for the Netherlands. Xander Bogaerts 1 for 4 today, as the Netherlands only have 4 hits against Venezuela. We've had a couple of games already go final, but overall, pretty good games in the WBC and pretty good atmospheres throughout the WBC, aside from like a lot of the early games today that are playing while people are at work on a Friday. I would imagine Team USA later against Brazil will be a fun matchup. The Dominican playing later against Nicaragua will be a fun environment, but just getting started here in the WBC.
Yeah, it's been a lot. It's been a lot of fun here to watch, especially early on. And for me, I've got IndyCar qualifying here that I'm paying attention to. But yeah, this Mexico Great Britain game has actually been very, very good. I believe it was a home run in the second inning, gave Mexico the lead, and it's been 1-0 ever since. So this has been a very tightly contested game between Mexico and Great Britain.
Bob Nightingale is reporting that in the Great Britain game that Jazz Chisholm Jr. is getting jeered the whole time. He got booed during the introductions, and he has been jeered every time he comes to bat. Take that for what it's worth. Houston does not like the Yankees.
Jeered.
Yes.
Not cheered.
Jeered with a J. Nobody likes the Yankees, obviously.
Well, duh. I think that was kind of obvious.
Some updates for you in terms of the standings. Cuba with the win earlier today against Panama jumps to first place in Pool A. In Pool B, none of the games have started yet. Or have gone final yet in Houston. Pool C in Tokyo. How about Australia? Australia 2-0 to get pool play started. Now they have beaten the 2 worst teams right now in the pool in Chinese Taipei and Czechia, but Australia off to a 2-0 start.
Yeah, they've looked very, very solid. Unfortunately, I haven't been awake to see it, but I was looking through the highlights. They have looked like a very, very competitive team, a lot more so than would have expected going into this tournament.
If you look at the other parts of this particular bracket, the first games are underway in Miami, as mentioned before, with the standings not updating. But the Dominican Republic and Venezuela, I think, are on a collision course right now. I mean, the Netherlands, not to say Jurickson Profar would have been a big update, like a big upgrade to that roster, but not having him, I mean, you got guys in your lineup. You got, Scopes in the lineup, not Jonathan Scope, but his brother. You got, Didi Gregorius still playing on the team. Some of these teams still have major leaguers on it, and a lot of these teams have a lot of retired or ex-major leaguers out there competing. And I think depth becomes a big question mark with the WBC as we move forward here. But Mexico's starting to threaten in the top of the 6th, first and second, and a 1-0 lead as Randy Arozarena has come to bat, and you're going to see a pitching change, or should I say a mound visit for Great Britain. There's a lot of empty seats right behind home plate in that game.
Yeah, and again, it's too well for Houston. It's what they're central, right?
They're central time, correct?
Yeah, so it's what 1 o'clock and 1:45 in the afternoon on a work day. So I mean, I understand it's a Friday, but still, if you're going to take a day off of work to go to a game, are you going to go to the first game, or are you going to go to a more meaningful game a little bit later on down the run?
Yeah, I mean, but I'm just saying, like, it's all like the super nice seats behind home plate.
That's where you need that's where you need Craig Carton's old idea of designated sitters.
Yeah, you know what?
You hire a bunch of local people, tell them, hey, go sit in that seat to make it look full, and then when the guy gets there, get up and get out.
Yeah, we're keeping it warm for you.
Exactly.
Keeping the seat warm. Do you want to sit in a warm seat when you get to the stadium, or do you want to sit in a cold seat?
It's called for a designated sitter.
Is that like sitting on a warm toilet seat?
I hope not.
Are you for or against
look like
that?
Leather.
No, they are like leather. I'm just saying, like, are you for or against the warm toilet seat thing? Because there's a lot of like those. You can get those high-tech Japanese toilets that will warm the seat for you. That feels gross to me. That feels like somebody was just sitting on it.
Depends on the context. If somebody was just sitting on it, then yeah, I'm a little grossed out. But if I know it's supposed to be warm and it's got a heater in it,
it's the natural instinct though of like sitting on a warm toilet seat. I had to turn one of the Airbnbs I stayed at had one of those. I had to turn that off. I didn't know how that. I was like, what is this? That's even worse when you go to the bathroom, first checked into the Airbnb and the toilet seat's warm. Why is that the case? It's not a common occurrence.
Yeah, that would.
You want to talk about context? It's like then you get like, oh, it's heated. It doesn't matter. It still crossed your mind. Still crossed your mind.
Yeah, but once I know,
Still
then I
gross.
don't care. Once I know the context, then sure, I don't mind.
Frankie left turns over there. Gonzo. He's fired up.
I am. I cannot wait for tomorrow.
So Frank's going to take a nap when he gets home?
Yeah, I'm probably going to go to bed around 6 and then wake up at like 2:30.
You bring ketchup to Crumb. They ran out of ketchup from the taco stand out there.
There's enough stuff in that press box, seriously.
Yeah. Take some pictures, take some photos.
Oh, absolutely.
Take some video. Let us know what's going on.
Yeah,
I'll have coverage of Frank going in all of the racing this weekend in Phoenix.
Yeah, you won't have to worry about doing the NASCAR thing this week. I got that covered.
He's going to do it himself.
I got that covered from the press box.
What else is going on in sports? Let's get to the sports thread.
You know that group chat? The one that's always blowing up with the biggest sports takes, debates, and breaking news?
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me?
Yeah, we've got that too. Welcome to the Sports Thread, where we break down the top 5 stories in sports, just like you would with your crew.
Oh, no! Disaster! What a bad idea!
No filters, no silence, just real talk. Brought to you by QC Kinetics. Stop sitting on the sidelines. QC Kinetics gets you back in the game without surgery. To learn how, visit QCkinetics.com.
All right, Frank, what do we got?
Well, we got 3 kind of quick stories that aren't going to take too much analysis. And then we got 2 big lawsuits in college sports because, God, college sports love suing people. Which one would you like to do first?
I don't. You could pick whoever.
We'll do the quick ones then.
Number 1.
Jason Tatum is expected to make his 2025-26 season debut tonight for the Boston Celtics against the Dallas Mavericks, less than 10 months after tearing his Achilles during last year's playoffs against the New York Knicks. The 6-time All-Star has spent the season rehabbing and could return on a minutes limit as Boston works him back into the rotation. Despite his absence, the Celtics have remained one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference behind MVP play from Jaylen Brown and strong contributions from the supporting cast. Tatum's return could significantly strengthen Boston's lineup as the team prepares for another deep playoff push. If Tatum returns close to full strength, does Boston immediately become the favorite to win the East?
Well, it's a lot of ifs right there, but they could use the edge in the Eastern Conference right now. So we'll see what we'll see what he looks like in the first game. We'll see what he looks like.
Also, Tyrese Halliburton too. He's nowhere close. He said after the surgery he was shut down for the year. So, I mean, that was in the same playoff, too, the same injury. So that's a big, big announcement from the Celtics.
Number 2.
Jeremy Pena has been diagnosed with a fracture at the tip of his right ring finger and will miss the World Baseball Classic after suffering the injury while fielding a ground ball in an exhibition game for the Dominican Republic national baseball team. The Houston Astros shortstop will be reevaluated in 2 weeks, putting his availability for opening day against the Angels in question. Pena was coming off a career year in 2025 that included his first All-Star appearance, hitting .304 with an .840 OPS and 20 stolen bases. Should MLB All-Star players participate in events like the World Baseball Classic? I think we went over this at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, I basically talked about it in the open. I think they should. I mean, if we're going to grow the game, we're going to try to make it a international thing. I think it's good. Because here's the deal. It's like, this is what grows your game to get better players around the world to play your sport. And soon you'll have, hopefully, every team that makes the WBC have Major League Baseball players, right? I mean, when you talk, and I compare it to soccer a lot of times. Soccer has had such a gigantic head start on everybody else because it was one of the original sports that people really like to play. And it's a sport that everybody plays in the world. And if you want to climb up to get the best players in certain leagues and be able to do everything that soccer does, you need people to play your sport in order to do it, right? I mean, that's why the United States isn't as good at soccer, is because a lot of their top athletes play all these other sports. Well, in these other countries, they're not as good at baseball or basketball or football because all their best athletes are playing soccer. So if you want to grow your game, whether it be the NFL, whether it be the NBA, the NHL, or Major League Baseball, you got to get more talent outside of the United States. And that's like the ultimate goal. So whatever you think you have to do in order to get those kids in those different countries to want to play your sport, that's what you have to do. For baseball, it's the WBC. It might be playing some games internationally. For the NFL, it's playing all these dumb international games that we don't like here in the United States. But if in the long term, it creates young athletes in other countries that come to the United States and be some of the best players in the world, then you're all for it. I mean, that's why all the best players in the world play in Europe in soccer, right?
Yep.
And they have all this talent. That's why you can have all these leagues and do all these whatever, because you have kids in all these other countries playing soccer. And if you want to grow the game of baseball, you've done an incredible job already in a lot of countries, but you got to keep pushing the narrative. You got to keep getting people to play. And what sets the tone is people watching and being excited about it. And you get excited about it when you watch Stars. And so you're growing the game.
And one thing that really helps you eat it with Jeremy Pena, it was a baseball injury that happened during a baseball game that could have happened at any point. It wasn't like he fell off a horse while he was doing something in his backyard. But
injuries are going to happen.
It was a baseball injury during a baseball game.
Number 3.
Your Anaheim Ducks signed forward Ryan Poling to a 4-year, $15 million contract extension after a strong first season with the team. Poling has posted 7 goals and 17 assists in 54 games while becoming one of Anaheim's top defensive forwards and penalty killers. The 27-year-old was acquired from the Philadelphia Flyers last summer in the trade that sent Trevor Zegras to Philadelphia, a move that initially upset many in the fan base. However, Poling's steady play has helped Anaheim stay near the top of the standings and in position for its first playoff appearance since 2018. Are the Ducks now finally starting to win the Trevor Zegras trade?
I don't know if they're starting to win the Trevor Zegras trade, but I tell you what, they're starting to win the we're no longer rebuilding.
Yeah.
They're finally starting to settle in. They've handed out a couple of contract extensions. They made the trade yesterday for Carlson from the Capitals, in which almost every Capitals player is in tears because he's a longtime Cap over there on the East Coast. He's 36 years old, in a move that they didn't give up any young prospects for it. They gave up draft picks, and it's a sign that we like the team that we have. It's a young team, and we are making moves to try to win this year and win the Cup this year. So the Anaheim Ducks, they're starting to they're finally coming out of rebuild mode, which is not only good news for the Ducks, it's good news for the goals, Frank. That means you're going to have a lot of young talent staying down here in San Diego and not getting pushed up to Anaheim.
Absolutely.
Number 4.
The NCAA is appealing to a Mississippi court ruling that granted Trinidad Chambliss eligibility for a 6th college football season in 2026, arguing that courts should not override its authority to interpret and enforce eligibility rules. The appeal filed with the Mississippi Supreme Court challenges a preliminary injunction issued by Judge Robert Whitwell that allowed Chambliss, the 2025 SEC Newcomer of the Year after transferring from Ferris State University, to pursue another season based on a disputed medical redshirt claim. The NCAA argues that allowing courts to intervene could undermine competitive fairness and create inconsistent rulings nationwide, while Chambliss's legal team countered that the organization ignored medical documentation showing that he was not healthy enough to play earlier in his career. The case, which could influence eligibility disputes across college athletics, may affect the SEC conference race if Chambliss remains eligible for 2026. If courts continue to intervene in NCAA eligibility rules, could it fundamentally weaken the NCAA's authority, or is outside oversight necessary to protect athletes?
Well, the problem with this is the NCAA can't enforce any of their rules because they don't have antitrust exemptions like the professional teams do and the professional leagues. And so they can't operate because they never needed it because they didn't have these kids as employees. They were just students that were getting a lot of free benefits of playing their sport. And then they started making tons of money, and people freaked out for them making money, which most of them just put back into a lot of the sports teams. I mean, you can argue of who's stealing all the money in college athletics all you want, but without antitrust exemptions, The NCAA cannot enforce any of their eligibility or NIL rules because they don't hold up in court because they could compare them to regular industries. Whereas the NFL and the MLB and all those other leagues, they could do collective bargaining. So until they get antitrust exemptions, you're going to keep seeing the NCAA have no power over anything. Noon lunchtime hour when we come back. Great Britain tied it up.
San Diego, it's time to fire it up. From the beaches to the ballparks, from the gas lamp to North County, no one knows America's finest city like he does.
You can't just punt on a Manny Machado prime year.
He's a fourth-generation San Diegan, born and raised in the heart of this community. Passionate, opinionated, and always bringing you the real talk on your teams, your city, and everything in between.
Braden totally knows his stuff. He's ready for the next step. That guy is good.
Live and local, it's the Braden Surprenant Show.
But I think Braden's one of the up-and-coming young stars in the media game in San Diego.
Now, here's your host, Braden Surprenant.
New Lunchtime Hour on the Fan is brought to you by the Craft Taco. Bold flavors. 2 locations. Sorrento Valley, Balboa Park. This new Lunchtime Hour is brought to you by the Craft Taco. Bold flavors at 2 locations, Sorrento Valley and inside Balboa Park's Natural History Museum.
I'm waiting for the tacos. Where are the damn tacos at?
I can only have fish tacos today. Lent. Happens. Johnny wants to know what the follow-up is on the snails. I haven't seen a lot. I check every morning, and I check in the evening, and I check in the afternoon. I have seen the aftermath of some of the snails that have had some of the bait, Frank. I have seen some of those. I'm supposed to apply every 7 to 10 days, so maybe in a day or two we'll have to reapply. But so far, my mint is growing back nicely, fighting off. Tomatoes and everything is going back. And you know what? You know what I saw today in the barrel today? I got jalapeno pepper plant starting to sprout out of the seeds.
Hear how
news.
selfish this guy is over here? As long as my plants are okay, everything else.
You know what, Frank? I'm sticking up for the little guy here, and that would be the plants that can't defend themselves. You ever think about it from that perspective? Huh? You're so worried about the snails, but you know what? What about the plants? You didn't think about the plants, did you?
What about the poor snails? They're just trying to eat dinner.
You know what? They are eating dinner. It's just unfortunately something that's going to burn them from the inside. That's unfortunate.
That's not the same thing.
They, FA, and they're now FO.
I saw something that might burn me from the inside that my mother sent me today.
Is she feeding you Sluggo?
No.
Are you a slug?
It may as well be. I showed you this. I showed you this during one of our breaks here. I know I downloaded it. Yep, there it is, right there. Just think.
Oh, I thought we were going to get to this later, but okay.
Well, we could do it now. I mean, we could do it later. That's fine.
Go ahead.
Just think.
It is the new Lunchtime Hour.
It is a nice, warm day. You come inside and you think, man, I really want something refreshing, but I also want some protein. So you think chicken and ice cream really don't go together, do they?
Chicken and waffles do.
Yeah, chicken and waffles do. Ice cream and waffles, to a point, they kind of go together. What about a fried chicken flavored ice cream?
Okay.
How awful is that?
Is that just the flavor? Like, is it just actual scoop, or does it look like a...
It looks like a drumstick from what I can see.
It does. But I don't... It doesn't have like the description of what that is.
It says it's vanilla ice cream, a chocolate bone, and a crunchy crumble.
Oh, here it is.
On the outside.
It's the Ice Nova fried ice cream, which is a viral, hyper-realistic frozen dessert shaped like a fried chicken drumstick. It features vanilla or chocolate ice cream, a crunchy
for the dark meat.
Yeah, okay. A crunchy waffle-like coating, as Frank was talking about, and a chocolate-covered pretzel bone. Available in buckets.
Oh, God.
It is a popular sweet food illusion sold at specialty stores and via delivery.
Well, apparently specialty stores are Vons, because that's where this picture is from.
You can get it in bucket form? That's hilarious. The appearance looks like real fried chicken, and they sell it in buckets. But it's creamy ice cream interior with a crispy cornflake base shell.
Diesel apparently has had it.
You can get on Instacart, I guess. Around 8, 9. This is a bleeped up version of a Choco Taco. That's what this is. They took a Choco Taco and they made it East County. They made it like Southern. This is the Southern version of a Choco Taco. Fried chicken ice cream. That's amazing.
I'll just take the firecracker under it. That's fine.
The Buffalo Wing guy might have an issue with that. That's true, Callis. That is true. The guy that sued Buffalo Wild Wings on the whole boneless wing thing might have an exception to the take exception to this. It's not fried chicken flavored ice cream, right? Though it's an ice cream bar
shaped and put in a fried chicken.
In a fried chicken look, and it's cornflake out exterior, and then the chicken bone in the middle that you hold it from is what did I say it was? A graham cracker or a pretzel? It's a pretzel.
Frank, eat an ice cream chicken leg. Be a man.
You might need to do a food review for that.
Oh God!
You brought it up. That's not my fault.
No, that's you're right. You are right on that.
Hey, you know what? For all the Catholics out there that could have meat today, have that. A little dessert.
Same thing.
Yeah. I don't know what the new food is at Petco. They haven't announced that yet.
Probably this.
We have a little bit of time, and so I do want to dive into that. We talked about the antitrust laws and everything like that. So just kind of like a main synopsis of this deal with college athletics. Oh, he's hosed at the plate. Not even close. 1-1 as they go to the 7th.
Those bases loaded too for Great Britain.
Oh, Great Britain wants to look at it? No way. They're going to put their hand down quick. Anyway, let's go back to this. So this was spurred from the sports thread because you mentioned that the NCAA is countersuing the situation in Mississippi with Chambliss, right?
Yes.
So the reason why the NCAA, and this is interesting because today they're having a meeting at the White House with, a bunch of non-college athletes, but like former college athletes about how to fix this. And they're asking for antitrust exemption.
And Tiger Woods.
He played for Stanford. He's a college athlete.
That's cool. There was a bunch of college football people and Tiger Woods.
There was more than that. You should see the full list. You'd be shocked at like who was at this thing today. Do I need to show you what that list was? Ross Dellinger got it. He posted on Twitter earlier today.
I'll look it up now.
I got it right here. You had the Secretary of State, you had the Secretary of the Treasury, you had the Secretary of the Interior, the Secretary of Commerce, and the Secretary of Education. You had the Commissioner of the Big East, you had the President of the NCAA, you had Notre Dame's athletic director, you had co-owner of the 76ers, New Jersey Devils, and Washington Commanders, Dave Blitzer. You had a board chair for Texas Tech University system.
Jerry Cardinal, who is a USFL owner, lucky for you. He's in some way, shape, or form connected with the Yankees. He's also in some way, shape, or form connected to Fenway Group.
That's why I told you, man. The rivalries are in the stands.
Jeez.
Athletic director for Oklahoma, the former president of Clemson. I mean, it's a lot of guys on there. Hey, our boy, Tim Pernetti was there.
Hey.
Jim Phil, all the commissioners were there, it seems like. Was Brett Yormark there? That's all I care about. Yeah, he was there. Okay, cool.
Adam Silver was there. God.
Wow. Why was Adam Silver there? Was Rob Manfred there or no? No, don't let Rob in. He can't even figure out his own
Manfred
league.
Was not there.
That's it. It's a bunch of the chairman of ESPN was there. Oh, I'm sure that's going to go over well.
They had a bunch of Republican senators there too, because
So they're meeting because they're trying to get some antitrust protection for the college athletics. So what are antitrust laws? Antitrust laws in general are U.S. laws designed to prevent monopolies and unfair business practices.
Wait a minute.
That restrict competition.
I just saw a name on here.
Yeah.
Charlie Ward, who is the head basketball coach at Florida A&M.
He got invited.
Did he walk into the wrong room?
They didn't invite the Bakersfield head basketball coach
for Florida A&M. What do you mean?
Got to represent the bands, dude. They got one of the best bands in the country. All right, back to this. Antitrust laws, for people that don't understand or don't know, and most of you do, they're U.S. laws designed to prevent monopolies and unfair business practices that restrict competition. There's a couple of federal laws that have been put in place, but the basic idea is companies are not allowed to collude to control prices, wages, or markets. So examples of some of the illegal behavior that this is trying to prevent: competitors agreeing on prices, limiting wages for workers, blocking new competitors from entering a market, coordinating to control supply. It's like every gas station in San Diego decides we're going to charge $7 a gallon all collectively so we all just make money. That would be illegal because they're colluding to remove the competition aspect of the laws, whatever. So professional sports leagues are normally an antitrust problem because they get some exemptions. Sports leagues are actually collections of competing businesses together. Like the NFL is made up of 32 separate franchises. Major League Baseball is made up of 30 separate franchises. And under normal business rules, those teams should be competitors. But a lot of these guys, all these leagues, as you know, sports fans, they coordinate things like player drafts, salary caps, revenue sharing, media rights, franchise territories. So normally that would violate every antitrust law, would it not, Frank?
Yeah.
Because competitors are coordinating business decisions, but pro leagues survive legally for two main reasons. One is collective bargaining with the players' unions. So they get antitrust exemptions. Some of them do. But part of this is they collectively bargain with the players' unions. The biggest protection is labor law, and leagues negotiate rules with the players' unions. The NFL Players Association, Major League Baseball Players Association, the NBA, and their Players Association. Because rules like salary caps, draft, free agency limits, and are collectively bargained, courts treat them as labor agreements, not antitrust violations, because every single one of those things would be antitrust violations, right? Like, our company can't do that because they don't collectively bargain with a union that everybody's a part of. Does that make sense? You understand so far? So this is called the non-statutory labor exemption that all of these leagues get. And so the translation is if players agree to the system through a union, it's legal. You agreed to this. You can't complain about these rules. So the NFL salary cap, it's legal because players negotiated it. Baseball's got very unique antitrust exemptions. Major League Baseball has a special historical exemption from antitrust law. It comes from the Supreme Court case Federal Baseball Club versus National League. The court ruled baseball was not interstate commerce, which is obviously outdated now, but the exemption still exists. Later cases have upheld it. So Major League Baseball actually has more protection than any other league, although today most rules still rely on collective bargaining anyway. But this is why the NCAA is completely different. They don't have a players' union. The NCAA are independent businesses competing with each other, but the NCAA tries to enforce rules like athlete compensation limits and transfer restrictions and NIL restrictions historically and scholarship caps and recruiting rules. And courts say, you can't do that because that's illegal price fixing. Because schools are, quote, colluding to limit athlete compensation because in the general sense of things, right, Frank? This is all stuff you can't legally do unless you have an agreed upon labor negotiation with the labor that is coming into your prospective league. So even though these pro sports leagues have all of these rules, the NCAA can't do it because they're not antitrust exempt, and they don't have a union for their players, and they don't have a collective bargaining agreement, and they've never had to really use this because the players weren't getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
They were getting scholarships. They were amateurs. It was a different level. But the case that changed everything was the NCAA versus Alston, in which the Supreme Court ruled that the NCAA violated antitrust law by restricting education-related benefits for athletes. Justice Brett Kavanaugh wrote a famous concurrence saying essentially the NCAA's business model would be illegal in almost any other industry. This opened up the floodgates for the NIL payments that you've seen and lawsuits over athlete compensation and potential revenue sharing. And this is why the NCAA keeps losing in court. They don't have a union agreement. Players never negotiated these rules that the NCAA is trying to put in to try to balance the playing field in college athletics, which all of their fans want. But the problem is they don't have a union to negotiate with, and they don't have the antitrust law exemptions. Schools are competitors. They compete for athletes, TV money, and championships. That's the other thing, Frank, that they don't do is they don't collectively pool TV rights, which they want to do too. And the only reason why the NFL and the NHL and the NBA and Major League Baseball can do it because they have antitrust exemptions due to the 1961 sports broadcasting ruling from way back in the day. The NCAA, not a part of that. Amateurism is another reason why none of their rules hold up in court. Amateurism is no longer a strong defense for the NCAA. For decades, the NCAA said college sports must remain amateur. And courts increasingly say that's not a legal justification for restricting pay at this point. So professional sports and what the NCAA is trying to do and trying to put in professional rules that we have all been clamoring for, Frank, right? I mean, you and I have cussed and discussed about this so many times, but they're never going to be able to get it until they get antitrust exemption, which they don't have and which they're working on today at the White House, or unless they let the athletes unionize, all of them collectively, and they put together a collective bargaining agreement before they start playing. That's the only way to do it, because professional sports, owners and players can negotiate rules together. Unions approve salary caps, drafts, etc., and the labor law protects the system. But for college sports, schools make the rules about athletes without negotiation, which is illegal in the United States. Those rules limit athlete earnings, and courts see that as illegal collusion because they don't have the antitrust law exemptions and they don't have the labor law protections. And so that's why you have all of these things going on and why it matters going forward. This is why college sports are moving towards direct athlete payments, revenue sharing, possible athlete unions, and employment status, because that's the only way to actually enforce these competitive rules instead of it being the wild, wild west. Even if, because we heard this all the time, even if the NCAA got ahead of all of this and put rules in place, none of them would be enforceable via law. Mm-hmm. And that's why this lawsuit that you brought up against Chambliss, the NCAA is going to lose because they don't have any legal justification for imposing eligibility requirements, imposing any sites of scholarship restrictions. They have no right to really enforce any of these rules. And that's why they keep getting fat L's handed to them in courts, Frank.
Yeah. And again, I mean, like I said to you, after we went off for the break there, I think they probably would have had a little bit better an opportunity to claim a mistrial, because, you know, when the judge is asking for autographs after the thing is over and he come to find out he went to Ole Miss, and that just reeks and smells incredibly fishy. But the other lawsuit that we were going to discuss, Louisiana Tech has filed a lawsuit against Conference USA to leave the league early to join the Sun Belt next year, which is something that we've seen other schools do. We saw Marshall, Old Dominion, Southern Miss all leave Conference USA for the Sun Belt and do effectively the same thing. So it is going to be, and it's going to continue to be this. It's going to be continuous litigation out of college sports, whether it be with individual students or whether it's going to be with the universities against their conference.
The NFL and the NBA and MLB survive antitrust law because players negotiated the system through unions, which we're about to talk about. The NCAA tries to control athlete pay without a union to try to make it competitively balanced, right? Because you can't just have league. It doesn't work for sports leagues. but the court sees it as illegal price fixing between competing schools because they don't have the antitrust exemptions like the professional leagues do, and they don't have a union. And this is going to continue to circle around until Congress comes up with something, which they're obviously busy with more important things right now than what the college athletics situation is. And that's on many different levels. Speaking of unions, MLB salary cap talks. They have released a couple, like last week, what some of the figures would be. I like these figures. Players are against it. And we're going to take a deeper dive in what it could be for the players in terms of how much money they would get, as well as what the fans are saying. A lot of fans are in favor of a salary cap. We'll discuss next on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's number one sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Big week across the board for the Tritons, and depending on the program, it's either momentum season or gut check time. Let's start with the hottest team in La Jolla right now, and that's the men's basketball team. Are they peaking at the right time? Well, UCSD Tritons men's basketball team have quietly won 5 straight games and are making a serious late push in the Big West Conference. They handled Cal State Bakersfield 84-72 behind 21 points from Hudson Mays. Their third straight 20-win season, then followed it up with an 80-64 win over Cal Poly in front of 3,300 at Lion Tree Arena. And here's what stands out. 18-1 when leading at halftime, turned it over just 6 times against Cal Poly, held a team averaging 82 points per game to 64, and 5 players in double figures in the home finale.
Yeah, now they're 21-9, 11-7 in conference play, and they're tied for third with 2 games left, including a massive showdown against Cal State Fullerton. They are defending, they're controlling tempo, they're winning inside 40 points in the paint against Cal Poly. They're also closing games. Now the question isn't whether or not they're good, it's whether or not they're March dangerous.
And to be March dangerous, they're going to have to be March dangerous in Las Vegas because they play the Big West Conference. The Big West Conference is a 1-bid league. And so they're just like San Diego State. They're going to have to get hot in a week in a weekend in Vegas. And so we'll see what the Tritons have up their sleeve in men's basketball. As for women's basketball, program history in the making. UCSD Tritons women's basketball might be building something even bigger. Back-to-back 85-point outings, back-to-back road wins, second straight 20-win season. They beat Bakersfield 85-79 behind 19 from Michaela Rose and followed it with an 85-61 statement win at Cal Poly. Erin Condren posted her 10th double-double. Rose is now 2 steals away from the single-season program record. They're 20-8 overall and 15-3 in Big West play, tied for first with Irvine with 2 games left.
Yep, absolutely. And the key stat is they've won the battle in the paint. They've won the turnover battle, fast break points and rebounds in both of those games. That's not just lucky. That's identity. And they're playing downhill. They're forcing mistakes. They're closing out, as this might be the most complete women's team that UC San Diego has fielded since they've gone into Division I basketball.
As for the baseball program, UCSD showed both their ceiling and their growing pains on the road at Louisiana. Opened the series with a 7-3 win. Trevion Martinez with 5 RBIs. Anthony Potestio going 4 for 5 and 12 strikeouts from the pitching staff. And then an 8-0 shutout loss and a 4-3 series finale heartbreak where they out-hit Louisiana but stranded 10 runners. That was after they stranded 20 runners on Tuesday against USD. They're now 4-6 heading into Cincinnati for another road test against this time a Power 4 opponent. This team can hit, they can pitch in stretches, but situational execution is the separator right now for this team.
Yeah, no, the talent is for sure there. It's just the consistency is not there. And we've talked about it a lot. A team that has problems driving in runners as well, trying to figure it out this year in the San Diego Padres. So it's a baseball problem that you're always going to run into. You're going to run into times where you cannot get runners in, and that really bit the Tritons on Sunday.
As for softball, from 10-1 to 9 straight losses, and then that's the most dramatic swing of the week.
Yeah.
UCSD softball started the season 10-1. They've now lost 9 straight games. They were no hit by Fresno State. They dropped both games Saturday, despite 15 hits against Pacific. They're 10-10 heading into Big West play at UC Santa Barbara, but they still have some players that are doing pretty well individually.
Yeah, absolutely. Marley Espio, hitting 383 with 12 extra base hits. The offense can explode, 15 hits in one game, but pitching depth and late execution are what have been the problems here for UC San Diego's softball team. Now that conference play is starting, there's no more tournaments, there's no more warm-ups. It's for real now. They need to get it back into gear, and that is a rough way to go into conference play after such a hot start that they had.
Just overall with UCSD athletics, and we've talked about it enough, but for a school that is still transitioning from Division II to Division I, it's been a handful of years now. They're now postseason eligible. I mean, some of the things that we talked about in this report of multiple 20-win seasons for men's and women's basketball in a row, baseball, swinging with some of the best of them, and they won a Big West Conference championship in 2023. They just were ineligible for the postseason because of the postseason ban for teams transitioning to Division I. They've accomplished a lot so far, and they're really making a lot of headway. $12:26 on a Friday. A lot of sports going on a Friday. We got the WBC, Mexico and Great Britain tied at 1, top of the 8th. Bases are empty for Mexico with Jarren Duran in the leadoff spot up for Mexico. That's been a pretty good game today so far. I was going to watch a little bit of the TCU women's basketball game today. They're up 32-19 at halftime. Lord.
What channel is that on?
ESPNU. That count towards the boycott? They're at half.
No, I remember you saying...
You could see the wonderful court they have that they have now upgraded. So I guess, Frank, they're every round of the Big 12 tournament, they're changing the court to something else.
That's cool.
You might as well get the money's worth of the digital court floor that you had. I don't understand why they put the money in for that court and then put the hideous-looking court that they had the year before for the first round of the women's tournament. They finally changed it, and College Football Reddit posted, bullying works. It doesn't work. Don't bully. Anyway, let's get to the... we've been trying to talk about this for weeks. So, the current CBA expires December 1st. Momentum is building among owners for a salary cap and a salary floor system. According to reporting, 29 of 30 MLB owners support some form of cap. The early projected framework, Frank... The cap, $260 to $280 million, and the floor, $140 to $160 million for Major League Baseball. On paper, sounds like competitive balance. In reality, it would detonate roster construction across the league. As much as people freaked out about that, I still am a firm believer that with whatever they come up with, if they decide to do a cap or a floor, I feel like they're going to start grandfathering that stuff in.
100%.
They're not going to just make you have to cut players all of a sudden.
No, the only way that the only exclusions are going to be players who are free agents, say at the end of this year. That's where they're most likely going to have to fall in. So if you're a free agent or if you're under arbitration, I think that's when you're most likely going to have to fall in. Like a Kyle Tucker, I think he's in.
If you look at it specifically with a certain team, and we pulled it from an article that was focused more on the Phillies, and let's use the Phillies as an example. Philadelphia is projected by Spot Track to have $311.2 million in luxury tax payroll in 2026 and $203 million committed in 2027 before key free agents. Those free agents are Jesus Luzardo, Alec Baum, Adolis Garcia, Jose Alvarado, and Edmundo Sosa. If Luzardo signs a long-term extension, around $30 million a year, that turns into $233 million committed. And if the cap lands near $260, that leaves roughly $27 million to build the rest of the roster. And if they let Luzardo walk, they save money but get worse. That's the core dilemma. I look at that as like, You got to be able to use the budget that you have. Not let me feel bad for Philly. Right? Like, oh, I'm sorry that you have to pay near the luxury tax. I'm sorry you have to pay near the cap right now. Like, good luck. But it's not just Philly. Like, here's all the teams that like would need to comply to a certain extent. Padres are listed in one of these. But they said, again, what did they say the cap? 260 to 280 for a cap, I think is fine. By the way, in doing this, too, you know for a fact, Frank, that this is going to be, well, maybe not a fact. Maybe Major League Baseball doesn't want to do this. But I would imagine they would take the route of the NFL where the cap changes year to year based on the revenue.
I agree.
And revenue sharing and pooling TV contracts, which is exactly what they have to do in comparison to what the other big leagues do that have the cap. But here's the 2027 commitments. Dodgers have $365 million committed to 2027. That's almost $100 million over the cap if it's at 260. It's $105 million over the luxury over the salary cap, maybe just over $100 million or just under $100 million if they go to 280. They would have to comply. The New York Mets would have to comply. They're at $269 million, right? I mean, they'd be relatively in that range. Yankees are at $235 million for 2027. Padres at $221. Baseball contracts are guaranteed. So unless they're grandfathered in or the cap is phased in slowly, there's a lot of restructuring that's going to occur. But I look at this as there are some teams up at the top that aren't going to be able to spend, but I look at some of the teams at the floor, like there's a lot of teams that are not compliant with this particular deal.
Correct.
The A's at $131.9 million would be the closest at 140, but I'd set the bottom at 160.
Agreed.
I honestly don't even care what it is.
I would go 1 and 260 is what I would do.
You would go. I would take the
160 floor, 260 ceiling.
I wouldn't mind giving the two. I don't really care what it is. Like people always go, well, how are players going to make money? You could make the cap $1 billion, dude. I don't care what it is. I just want to make sure everybody's playing by the same rules. You want to get paid, like, I don't know, make it $300 million. Make it $300 million and 200 is the floor. I don't care what it is. I don't care how much these guys make. If they made it something outrageous like that, the players really wouldn't have any complaint because they'd be able to, they're still making all the money. They're still making the money. But to ratify the new CBA, they got to get 23 or 30 owners to approve. This Philly writer thinks that like none of the lower teams are going to be able to approve this because they don't want to spend extra money. I don't buy that either, Frank. I really don't.
Too bad. Sell your team if you do not want to spend money.
I think the owners are more aligned than that. I really do. I honestly don't think they would care to spend an extra $20 million. I mean, so the A's would have to get in compliance. Let's just set it at 160. They'd have to go buy a good player at $30 million a year or a couple of players. They got to spend $30 million. Milwaukee is not in compliance. They'd have to spend around $30 million. The Pirates are not in compliance. They'd have to spend $40 million. Cardinals, which we already know they're stripping everything down.
Yeah,
they have the ability to do that. They'd have to spend $40 million. Twins would have to pay $40 million. The Rockies would have to pay $55 million. Tampa Bay would have to pay $55 million. Washington would have to pay $58 million. The White Sox, $59 million. The Guardians would have to pay almost over $60 million. And the Marlins would have to pay almost $100 million in payroll to abide by the luxury floor, by the salary floor. That is a lot of money we just racked up that players are going to have to get paid.
Yeah.
They're going to actually make more money individually with the cap and the floor, but you know who's not going to make the most money? The top 1%. And those are the ones that are fighting back the most. Every time you hear it, it's like they use we're looking out for the up and coming. They're not. Stop it. They're going to make more money. It caps the top 1%. But here's the thing that they're not saying out loud. That's the biggest problem with this deal is they want to be able to have their cake and eat it too. They want to get paid unlimited amounts of money, and they don't want it to affect the bottom line of the roster of the team that they're currently playing on. They all want to be Joe Burrow. Like Joe Burrow complaining when he gets paid $60 million a year. It's not fun anymore. My team's not good. Well,
I wonder
don't
why,
know, dude. Why don't you renegotiate your contract? It's supposed to make the league competitive. What do fans think about this? Well, the fans made their voices heard on the salary cap. We'll discuss that when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's number sports station, 97 through the Fan. Over 1 year ago, San Diego FC and St. Louis City SC walked out of Snapdragon Stadium with a scoreless draw, cautious, unfinished first chapter. This time, well, nothing cautious about it. Anders Dreyer wasted just 3 minutes to change the tone entirely. Dreyer, last season's MVP runner-up, buried the opener off a sharp pass from Marcus Ingvarsson with an Ani Valakari helping build the play, and San Diego never looked back in a 2-0 win over St. Louis. It wasn't just a win, it was control, Frank.
Yeah, absolutely. San Diego FC dominated their possession. Over 61%, outshot St. Louis City 10-4. Goalkeeper Duran Ferry secured his second straight clean sheet. Ingvarsson added the insurance goal in the 54th minute, which Apple TV missed because they had a video blackout. Fun. Set up once again by Dreyer, who now has assists and goals flowing early in this season. I mentioned it on the show. Dreyer already has 4 goal contributions of the 7 goals. And if you want to count that shot that was saved, that redirected right to Amal Pellegrino in the opener against Montreal, he has contributed directly to 5 of San Diego FC's 7 goals this year, which is incredible.
Yeah, San Diego FC dominated the possession at over 61%, outshot St. Louis 10-4, and Ferry, again, as you mentioned, second straight clean sheet. I mean, these are all numbers that are staggering and dominating, and a big reason why San Diego FC is going to be one of the favorites this season. I mean, I know they keep talking about LAFC being like the big dog to look out for in the Western Conference, and maybe they are, and maybe that sets up a big rivalry game in the future, but the way San Diego FC has been playing and the confidence they're playing with, it's the stability that they have on the field and also off the field with a lot of different guys getting contract extensions now.
Yeah, absolutely. And for LAFC, it's more based off of, well, they're the Inter Miami of the West. They're signing big international stars. Sung came in at the end of last season on a move from Tottenham. So they have the big name international stars that have made themselves a name in Europe, just in the same way that Inter Miami has with guys like Lionel Messi. So that's where that comparison comes from. And they've also started the season off very, very hot. But yeah, to be able to get 2 wins convincingly to start off this season, especially after the contract extensions that we'll get to right now that have been handed out, is a very, very good sign that we're seeing a very special team.
Yeah, San Diego FC signed sporting director and general manager Tyler Heaps to a multi-year extension, and that might not be the biggest move of the week because Heaps built this club from scratch. Entire soccer operations department, coaching staff, 25-man inaugural roster. They got 19 wins, 63 points, and the number 1 seed in the West, and a Western Conference final appearance out of it. Only one other expansion team in MLS history has done that, and that is the 1998 Chicago Fire. Before San Diego, Heaps sharpened his resume at the Right to Dream, AS Monaco, and U.S. Soccer, where he was part of the 2019 Women's World Cup winning staff. He's not just a roster builder. He's a systems guy, analytics-driven, culture first. Locking him in long-term signals something important, that this club isn't thinking about surviving the MLS. They're thinking about building a dynasty model in the MLS, and a big way to do that is keeping your keeper.
And yeah, and to be fair, they've already built that foundation. And as you mentioned, speaking of stability, goalkeeper Pablo Cisniega is also staying. San Diego FC re-signed him through 2027 with a club option beyond that. Now, if you remember last season's playoff run, that was Cisniega in net. 2 games against Portland, thrown into the match in the 29th minute due to injury, saves 3 penalties in a shootout. That is franchise folklore stuff in year 1. A guy who barely got any playing time during the regular season, coming up massively on a second's notice in the postseason is incredible from Cisniega.
Yeah, this year he's already delivered in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. 8 saves against Pumas Unum in Mexico to push San Diego into the round of 16. That's not just depth, it's reliability. And smart clubs lock in reliability early. And that's exactly what San Diego FC did. So what's next for San Diego FC? Well, they head to face Sporting Kansas City this weekend, and then it's back home on March 11th at Snapdragon Stadium for a heavyweight CONCACAF Champions Cup showdown against back-to-back Liga MX champion in Toluca FC. And that is where things are going to get interesting. League play is one thing, but international competition sets depth, tests depth, discipline, and mentality. And so far, San Diego FC looks like they are built for it, Frank.
I wouldn't necessarily say that they are built for it just yet, because that game against Pumas in Mexico, that they really didn't have too much to worry about in that game. You're up 4-1 in aggregate. You can chill out a little bit. You can relax.
Need a contestant for the Midday Sports Standoff. If you could take me down in some sports trivia, you will be qualified to win a chance for a pair of tickets to Field of Dreams Festival at Petco Park on June 13th, featuring Slightly Stupid, Sublime, and more. Tickets at Ticketmaster.com. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. Try to take me down in some sports trivia. Looking for a contestant. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. All right. Let's get to what the fans were saying about a potential collective bargaining agreement of a salary cap and a salary floor. What do the fans want, Frank? What do we think the fans want?
We've gotten to the point where the corporations are the good guys now. That's where we've gotten.
We've gotten that on a lot of it. We're like rooting for the NCAA.
Yep.
And for the baseball owners right now. All right. Okay, that court doesn't look as bad when it's the when they rearranged everything. I'm watching. They had the Big 12 tournament on in here for women's basketball, and the panels. It's not too bad. It just looks like a regular court now. The older court looked bad. What's your thoughts on that court right there?
Doesn't look bad.
No, it doesn't.
Like I said, I thought it would be like it would look like TCU's home floor. I thought
that's what they kind of advertised, and they had done it. They still wanted it to be like a neutral floor, which I think is dumb. But it says quarterfinals on there. It's got the BYU logo on one side of the court, the side that they're going towards, and then they got TCU on the side that they're going towards. I guess they could flip it. They must have flipped it at halftime,
and they're all really faint too.
It's super faint on the angle, probably with the deal. This is obviously new technology that they're thinking about putting in around. I am more interested in like what the players think about playing on it. It doesn't look as much of a like playing on a video board as I thought it was going to be.
Correct.
So I'm curious to see what the next round looks like, and the men play next weekend. All right, we have a couple of minutes. Let's talk about what the fans want. So fans have made their voices heard on the salary cap. And the drama, and we don't need to dive deep into the drama of the Dodgers and their projected payroll and all this other stuff. But what fans think and why it matters. Salary cap support is growing. In 2022, Frank, 59% of fans favored a salary cap. That number's jumped up to 69% in 2026. More fans now support some form of cap, often paired with a salary floor, real penalties for overspending, stronger revenue sharing. Even fans who blame owners for payroll disparity are still favoring structural change, which is very telling. I don't know why fans wouldn't be behind this 100%. I really wouldn't. Fans blame the owners overwhelmingly. 92.2% include owners among those responsible, but about a third think players share blame. Almost nobody says it's entirely the players' fault. Fans believe the spending gap is a choice, not a market inevitability. There's specific frustration about local TV deal inequities, owners treating teams as investment vehicles, small market clubs pocketing revenue sharing money, and obviously the fear of the lockout. But I look at this and I think a lot of fans are just tired about the same team spending more money than everybody else.
Yeah, and I think it's gotten so out of hand with what the Dodgers have done that, yeah, it's really starting to wane on people in a different way. I mean, you have all the other reasons why the Dodgers are unlikable. Same thing with like the Yankees, and for some it's the Mets, and some it's the Red Sox that are just so unbearably unlikable. And the fact that they're able to do something, that they have the pockets deep enough to be able to do something that no one else has the ability to do, no matter how much Jeff Passan or Bob Nightingale or Ken Rosenthal say, oh yeah, every other team could do this. No, they can't. Because if they could, they would have done it already. And those who have done somewhat of a snippet of this have not had nearly the sustained success that the Dodgers have had. It's like watching that friend. It's like going to a casino with a friend. Your friend has bottomless pockets. Meanwhile, you have $100, and he's looking at you wondering why you're not playing the same way he is. Dude, like I have a limit here.
Right.
You don't. Like
100%.
I have to be smart about this. You don't. So I think that is what has gotten fans the most upset, is the fact that you have one team now that is doing something that clearly everybody else cannot do.
I just feel like, as we talked about with this particular situation and with the NCAA and now with this, this is the first time I've seen fans like really, but the fans are always going to be on the side of the sport that they love to watch. Always.
Mm-hmm.
Always. And so right now, the betterment of the sport and what people want to see in entertainment is a competitive league in which teams are operating by the same rules. Just because the rules make it where everybody operates by the same rules doesn't mean that some teams aren't going to be really good at it and some teams aren't. But you shouldn't be better, Frank, just because you have more money. You should be better because you do things properly.
Exactly.
Like, if they put in a salary cap and salary floor, the Dodgers could still dominate.
Yeah.
They could. But at least at that point, you couldn't make money an excuse for why you weren't competitive. It would be all on your own in terms of recruiting players that come sign with you and drafting and all that other stuff. All right. Is it time to get to the midday sports stand-up? We have a contestant. All right, let's get to it.
Welcome to Midday Sports Standoff on the Braden Surprenant Show.
I can't believe what I'm seeing right now.
The ultimate head-to-head battle where sports knowledge and quick thinking collide.
No, it's no good. Are you kidding me?
Contestants will go toe-to-toe with Braden in a sports trivia deal where every correct answer brings them closer to victory.
Down the sideline! Wow! Unbelievable!
But 3 strikes and it's game over.
This is not Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl.
Can you outsmart Braden? The Midday Sports Standoff starts now.
All right, Frank, who we got playing today?
We have Terry in Mission Valley playing today. Terry, how you doing today, bud?
It's pretty good. Go Padres.
Yeah, exactly right. All right, so today we're sticking with our World Baseball Classic theme that we've had over the course of the week.
Frank's been on a pretty good streak. Hopefully he keeps it up.
Hopefully. The top 10 countries, the countries that lead in the most individual game wins. So the 10 countries that have the most individual game wins in the World Baseball Classic. Got it?
That's our list today?
Yes, that is our list today.
All right.
So which 10 countries have won the most individual games in the history of the World Baseball Classic? And I will say this does not include today. So Terry, you have the first.
If somebody
guess.
was just outside the top 10 and a win today put him in the top 10, that would be hilarious.
I don't think that's the case.
I can't even complain about that.
Terry, first guess.
I have to go with Japan.
Japan has won 30 games. They have won the most.
So the most is at 30. That's interesting.
Yes.
United States, they're got to be in the top 10. They've won before.
United States have won 21 games. They are third.
Okay.
Terry?
The Dominican Republic.
Dominican Republic is fourth at 20 wins on the nose.
21? 20?
20.
Top 10. Let's go with Puerto Rico.
Guys have cleared out the top 4. Puerto Rico was number 3 at 23. Number 2 at 23 wins.
Gotta be Mexico.
Mexico is number 9 at
Really?
11 wins. They're looking like they're about to get number 12 here in just a second.
How about Korea? They've made it to the final before.
South Korea with 17 wins puts them number 6 on the list. Terry.
I'll go Korea.
He just said Korea.
That one, Canada.
No, Canada is not on the list. Braden?
We're looking for 4 more teams.
Looking for 4 more, yes.
Cuba made the final. Cuba's got to have some wins on there.
Cuba is number 5 on the list.
Really?
They have won 18 games.
I thought they were 10.
We're missing 7, 8, and 10.
Gotta be that one. I can't remember.
Oh, no.
I don't know. China already?
No, China has not won
I feel
enough games to be on this list.
I feel like the Netherlands have to have had a decent amount of wins in the years.
The Netherlands are number 8 on this list with 13 wins. Got 2 left. We got number 7 and number 10.
They 13 wins.
We do Colombia yet?
Oh, that's a good one.
Colombia.
Really?
Colombia is not on this list, Terry. I'm sorry. That is strike 3. Braden, here to clean it up.
Let's go with the Italians. Wow.
Italy has won 7 games. They are number 10.
I mean, they used to have like Mike Piazza, I think, played 1.
Yeah, he was first.
All right.
Part of the first team.
So we're missing number 7.
They won today.
They won today. Okay. Australia? No. I haven't won today. Venezuela. We haven't said that yet. Yes, that was an easy
Venezuela with 16 wins. That was number 7. So Japan with 30 wins is the most. Puerto Rico at 23. The U.S. with 21. Dominican with 20. Cuba 18. South Korea 17. Venezuela 16. Netherlands 13. Mexico 11. And Italy with 7.
It's a good question today.
Thank you.
When I saw a second ago your little prompt on there, I thought you were about to have the top 10 best games in WBC history.
No,
and I was like, oh my God, that's impossible.
Like I said, I'm stupid. I'm not dumb, though.
You see Rod's message in the
Yes,
chat?
I did.
That's hilarious. Good job, Frank. Applause for Frank.
Thank you.
On a Foul Out Friday.
It's a week of...
He's starting to get it, guys.
It's a week of good questions.
He's starting to get it. He's starting to figure it out. Took him almost a year, but you know what? We're here.
Hey, listen, I'm not going to lie. It was something that Adam said kind of unlocked it.
Got me going to the, they had us in the first half.
Yep.
Not going to lie.
Something that Adam said after last week unlocked it, and we've
guys
been
locked
rolling
in
on
now.
good questions.
Okay. Hey,
now.
money. I love it.
Like I said, could be at any point. Think of that with some of these Padre pitchers, some of the hitters. Just give them time. Maybe Camposano unlocked something last year. Who knows?
Spring training for everybody.
Same deal.
Spring training for everybody. All right.
No, Adam did not say be better than Scravy. No, he did not say that.
It sounds like he said that. Is that what he said? Oh, Scraby was killing me last night, dude. So I'm driving from the Scripps Ranch beach volleyball duel to dinner because we went to dinner as a group, and I had the fan on in my car, and it's the beginning of the Scraby show, and he's talking about Walker Buehler coming back and all that stuff, and Scraby killed me, dude. He was like, he's got that chip on his shoulder. I love when players have a chip on their shoulder. And then he had to specifically say, I was dying laughing in my car, that it wasn't an actual potato chip.
Oh, dear.
On the shoulder. He was going. He was cranking. He was getting through. Right. He was feeling it.
He was what?
Phrasing.
He was on a roll. Yeah.
On a roll. And then he dropped but not that kind of chip, not a potato chip. I mean, like, oh, man. Ron? Oh, I thought it was in the chat yesterday? Oh, yeah, because I texted Scravy about the DJ Moore thing. I can't believe that. Final hour, we come back. We got our Walker Buehler Padres debut pitching breakdown that is going to be, it's up for members, and it will be officially posted up on YouTube at about 3:15. So stay tuned for that later on this afternoon. Frank and I did a full breakdown on Walker Buehler and his outing in terms of the analytics and what we saw out of some of the data that we got from the outing yesterday for Walker Buehler. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's the Braden Surprenant Show, setting someone sports station 97.3 The Fan. And we want to get to a couple of things. But first, we do got to get to today's biggest fan. It is time, Frank. It is time for today's biggest fan as we broadcast live from the Bill House Studios. Congratulations to today's biggest fan, Rhonda Blys. Blys? B-L-Y-S. Rhonda B-L-Y-S in San Diego. Give us a call in the next 10 minutes at 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973, and you qualify for our grand prize, 20 tickets for you and your friends for a night in our Odyssey suite at a Padres game with all the fan staff later this season, catered by Spiro's Mediterranean Cuisine. Remember to register your name at 97throughthefantasy.com/biggest fan. Rhonda, how would you say Rhonda's last name? Blys?
Man, that's kind of what I thought it was.
Blys. Rhonda Blys. B-L-Y-S. Rhonda Blys got 10 minutes to give us a call. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. Mexico is up 4-1, top of the ninth inning. Great Britain will have one more chance to play in the bottom half. We did get a lineup now for the Padres today. Remember, they play tonight on 97 through the Fan. You can hear them at 5 o'clock. Is that what time the game starts today? Under the lights. Armand Marquez getting the start today. Padres and Cubs. Jackson Merrill going to lead things off, play center. How about that? Jackson Merrill in the leadoff spot. We're going to talk about the leadoff spot here in a second. So, Jackson Merrill bats leadoff, plays center. Miguel Andujar bats second, plays third. Jake Cronenworth is going to get the start at shortstop today, Frank. How about that? He bats third. Nick Castellanos bats fourth, plays first base. Gavin Sheets in left field, Frank. We're mixing it up today. He bats fifth. Ramon Laureano bats sixth and right. Ty France, the DH, bats seventh. Luis Camposano bats eighth and catches. And Mason McCoy is playing second base and batting ninth. That's an interesting lineup today.
It's almost like you're missing a bunch of key contributors to the team.
I like the fact that they're moving guys around in the different spots. I love this.
Figure it out, man.
I like the leadoff spot conversation. I like giving opportunities to guys like Jackson Merrill, and we'll see where this plays into. But I do want to point out a couple of things. All right, so I went through yesterday because the big point of contention yesterday was the Fernando Tatis Jr. He had 399 at-bats with nobody on. Well, just for context, okay, of the regular season, and you gotta go through and go through all their regular at-bats and stuff like that, which I'm about to do. But I mean, 399, you got to subtract 150 from those anyway. And the leadoff spot comes up with 249 at-bats with nobody on base. Because, again, aside from the first inning, you have no control over that particular stat. So, if I go through the lineup from last year, and this is the lineup that had the most occurring position. Like, these are the guys in order of the most reoccurring spot, if that makes sense. So, Fernando had the most starts in the leadoff spot last year. Fernando last season, in his overall at-bats. Now, this could change for some of the spots because they didn't always play there. But out of all the at-bats that these guys got last year, this is because this is what came from Kevin Acey's article the other day. So Fernando last season had 594 at-bats. He had 244 of them empty, with the bases empty. He had 195 of them with people on base. He had 105 of those with runners in scoring position. The next guy on the list was Luis Ariz. He usually hits second. He had 620 at-bats because the guy doesn't walk. He had 150 at-bats with runners in scoring position, 263 with runners on. Luis Arraez had 357 at-bats with the bases empty. Where did he mostly play last year in terms of the batting order, Frank? Second. Now, I guess you could account for the fact that he started however many games in the 2-hole, and he's most likely going to come up with nobody on base, but he had 357 at-bats with the bases empty. Again, Fernando, 399, but 150 of those were guaranteed because he hit leadoff in 150 games last year. Then you look at Manny Machado. Manny Machado, right? You want to get him up with guys on base. He had 615 total at-bats. He had 152 with runners in scoring position. He had 284 at-bats with runners on base. He had 331 at-bats last year with the bases empty. Think about that for a second. The difference between Fernando and Manny, between batting leadoff and batting third, was really insignificant in terms of how many times you came up with nobody on base. You're guaranteed to have Fernando have a 300 out of the 399 at bats in which Fernando came up with the bases empty. You have to account for 150 of those being guaranteed that you already signed up for. So outside of the first at bat of the game, which you just want to have your best player up there, Frank, he had 244 at bats with the bases empty. Manny had 331 at bats with the bases empty. He hit third. It's not a massive difference in change to your top of the order and how many times they come up with runners on base.
I mean, part of it you could also say is that Luis Arraez, for how many times he came up without somebody on base in front of him, you could also put that to Fernando not having any form of protection in
I agree.
Luis Arraez. So it's Arraez kind of doing it to himself at that point. So, yeah, I mean, it's the leadoff spot. It really, other than the first inning, it really does not matter because you can't control when you come up after that.
Right. Now, this is going to be skewed a little bit because just the Jackson Merrill missed a significant amount of time. He still hit cleanup more than anybody else on the team. Surprisingly enough. He was in the cleanup spot more times than not. But it's skewed because he came up with 200. He had Merrill didn't have nearly as many of at bats because he missed a lot. He had 483 play. He had 440 at bats, mostly in the 4 spot. And it's hard to find. You have to find the numbers exactly of per deal. Fernando had 195 at bats with runners on base. Jackson Merrill had 210 at bats with runners on base. And the runners in scoring position are all relatively the same. The only two that had the most were Arraez and Machado at 2 and 3. So if you want to move Fernando to 2 and 3, that makes a lot of sense. Xander Bogaerts had 121 at-bats with runners in scoring position, 219 at-bats with runners on base. He had 272 at-bats with the bases empty. Number 5 spot comes up a lot with the bases empty. The least amount of at-bats with the bases empty was Jose Iglesias in the number 8 spot with 165 compared to Martín Maldonado at 98. He came up with the bases empty 98 times, but he didn't have too many at-bats in general, and he was batting 9th. It's the whole point of the conversation with the at-bats. I feel like you could skew a lot of data just to fit certain narratives, but I look at this, and until you see the actual numbers of per position of the batting order for the Padres this year and those stats, it's hard to really gauge whether or not you're going to get a lot more at-bats with guys on base because that's something you can't control as the game goes on.
Yeah, we talk so much about this. We talk about it ad nauseum. And this is, again, it's something that the leadoff hitter is going to do what they're going to do, man. It depends on more who is behind them. Of course, you want somebody who's going to get on base. Of course, you want somebody who's going to be a little bit more patient. But if they don't have anyone behind them that's going to help them out as far as getting them pitches to hit, because we got to get this guy out because I don't want to face this guy with runners on, it's kind of a moot point at this stage. And again, as much as I don't think they should, I think Fernando's going to be your leadoff hitter no matter what coming into this season.
I don't necessarily know if that's the case. I think he can. I don't think he's going. I don't think what the Dominican Republic has him doing really changes anything that the Padres are
I don't think so. I don't think so either. I just think we talked about it last year. We talked about it yesterday, I believe. Wasn't Fernando hitting mostly second or third during spring training last year and still ended up hitting leadoff most of last year?
Yeah, he hit. What did we determine? He hit leadoff once.
Yeah, he hit leadoff. Yeah, he hit leadoff
training
once in spring training. He was hitting either second or third in spring training all of last year, and he was the leadoff hitter.
So the conversations about the leadoff hitter, and we didn't really take a dive into this as much, but it sounds like it's not going to be. I mean, AJ Castlefield doesn't believe it's going to be Fernando per se. The Padres entered the 2026 season with a surprisingly intriguing debate surrounding the leadoff spot, a position that can shape the entire offensive identity of the lineup. And on paper, Fernando looks like the most logical option. He has improved on base percentage last season, combined with elite power and base stealing ability, gives him many of the characteristics teams want at the top of the lineup. Few players in baseball can get on base, steal second, or hit the ball 440 feet the way Tatis can. However, baseball isn't played on paper. Tatis experienced extended slumps last season, and those struggles seem particularly pronounced when he was hitting leadoff. Although that being said, last year, I think the biggest thing that hurt Fernando last year was not where he was batting in the order. I think it was the fact who was batting behind him and pitches flying at his noggin all the time.
Yes.
Which he has to be able to adjust to.
Yeah, that was a big thing. And the pitches up and in apparently is something he said he's worked on over the offseason. So maybe that is going to get a little bit better. But you're in a position now where you're forced to have somebody, if Fernando is going to be the leadoff hitter, you're at a point right now where you're forced to have somebody new behind him. And I think a guy like Jackson Merrill would be perfect because he is a guy that can hurt you. He's also a guy that's been batting second quite a bit so far this spring.
Right. He has been batting second a lot, and I like him batting second a lot. I mean, Fernando didn't have enough at-bats batting fourth last year. He hit 167 batting fourth last year. He didn't have a lot of at-bats, though. I mean, I don't think the problem with Fernando last year of power numbers was the fact that he's batting leadoff. I think it was the fact that he had a guy behind him that nobody was afraid of.
Yeah.
I really believe that to be the case. And you know what? Here's the thing. I think they should just continue to test it out a little bit at the beginning part of the year and see if that makes a difference. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe you want him to, be lower in the order. But to me, it's like the impact of, I just feel like a lot of people assume that your number 4 hitter is going to come with the bases loaded all the time.
No,
which is not the case.
No,
it's not the case. Craig Stammen has hinted that he may prefer Tatis hitting elsewhere. One option being explored is him being in the cleanup spot, which allow him to drive in runs while still getting opportunities to hit early in the game if the top of the lineup reaches base. Here's the other thing, too, with the cleanup thing. That's why I also don't mind the cleanup spot, Frank. What happens if the top of the order goes down 1, 2, 3? Fernando leads off the second. All right, so he's still leading off anyway, which happens a decent amount. So the leadoff spot is suddenly a major question. And Tatis is the best option on paper. We talked about that. But they could have him bat cleanoff. Jackson Merrill is a leadoff option. He's hitting leadoff today. I like that. I don't mind seeing Jackson bat leadoff and Fernando bat too. I think those two need to be the first two guys off to start the game. And Jackson has been another intriguing possibility. He's got speed, strong base running instincts. He has very pesky at bats, solid OBP against right-handed pitching, but he does not walk a lot, which is typically a key leadoff skill. The potential lineup logic would be Merrill, Machado, Tatis from 2-3-4 to 1-2-3. Get the best hitters more plate appearances. I like the philosophy of getting your best players the most plate appearances. Now,
yes.
More flexibility is expected this season. According to AJ Castle's article that he had, under Mike Schilt last season, the lineup rarely changed. I don't think you can keep doing that over and over again. I think you got to mix it up if things aren't working out. Certain hitters stayed in fixed spots all year. Luis Arraez hit high in the lineup, even against left-handed pitching. Under Craig Stammen, Padres could adjust the lineup based on matchups. I'd rather see that than anything else. AJ Castlefield mentioned the Bogaerts-Cronenworth option. Potential traditional leadoff options would be Xander or Jake Cronenworth. High on base hitters, good table setters, but the concern is if they lead off, your best hitters hit fewer times. And when you think about that from a late game scenario, do you want Xander Bogaerts or Jay Cronenworth coming up in a big moment, or would you rather have Tatis or Merrill?
I'd rather have Tatis and Merrill.
I'd rather have Tatis and Merrill too. Again, but that's something else you can't control and you have no impact over an entire game. Do you have the clip of AJ Cassavell from this week?
Let me.
Because AJ was on the morning show yesterday, and he discussed this leadoff situation and where the Padres are at with this leadoff situation. But to me, I believe that's the guy following Fernando in the leadoff spot more than anything else.
Yeah.
You got it ready?
Yep.
Here's AJ Cassavell talking on the morning show about why Fernando is not going to be the leadoff hitter in 2026.
I kind of think that they don't want Tatis in the top spot, and here's my understanding of why that is. It's if you're looking on paper, I think Fernando Tatis Jr. is clearly the best option for the leadoff spot. He can hit a home run on the first pitch of the game. He can steal a base. He can get on base. That being said, the game isn't played on paper, and I think maybe there's something about trying to kind of get the most out of Tatis and put him in a situation that's comfortable for him. And I don't know if this is Tatis asking to be moved out of the leadoff spot. I think it might be more Craig Stammen trying to put Tatis in a spot where he thinks he's comfortable, and maybe that ends up being leadoff. Maybe Tatis goes to the DR and loves hitting leadoff and comes back and says, I want to hit leadoff. There's also something to be said about putting Tatis fourth, because if you bat him fourth, he's either going to come up with a guy on base in the first inning or he's going to be in the leadoff spot in the second inning.
Yep.
And so ultimately, how much does any of this matter? I don't know. But like you said, all of the decisions are intertwined, because if it's not Tatis, then maybe there's a platoon that needs to happen with Bogaerts and Cronenworth. And if you do that, then you want Cronenworth stacked at the top with Jackson Merrill. You put Tatis 2 against lefties, because he does have a tendency to hit or against righties. He does have a tendency to hit righties a little better. I don't know the answer to any of this. Like, we need to kind of see how it unfolds during the season. But the one thing that I think I have gleaned is that as of right now, there's probably a preference for Tatis not to hit at the top.
Because they probably want to have more opportunities to try to control getting guys on base in front of them, which I get to a certain extent. But the good thing about Tatis batting cleanup is he's batting leadoff in the second inning, worst case scenario. And he's still a leadoff hitter. But my thing is, if your biggest takeaway from changing the lineup and Fernando out of the leadoff spot is not because he's not a good leadoff hitter, but it's because you want to try to make situations and control situations for him in terms of, like, we want him to come up with more guys on base, something that you can't control. I find that to be a tough argument for why he shouldn't bat leadoff.
Yeah, I think he will end up batting leadoff, but I personally, like I said, I would much rather see him hit 3 or 4. Would be more what I would lean towards. I would like to have Xander start leadoff, followed by Merrill, followed by either Manny or Fernando, whichever one. I'm not going to be picky about that, but again, we'll see in, what'd you say, 20 days now?
Yeah,
20 days
opening day.
20 days from right now, we would be in the first inning of game 1 of the season.
When we come back, I don't know how, but the Aztecs can still raise a banner after this weekend. San Diego State UNLV tonight at Viejas Arena. It's senior night. We'll get you a preview and what the scenario is for them to win a regular season championship when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego Summer Sports Station 97 through the Fan. What a weekend across the San Diego section. First-time champions, overtime drama, state titles, and now everybody turns the page to the Southern California Regionals. Let's start on the hardwood with boys basketball. Victory Christian making history as they didn't have a 20-point score all season, no double-digit rebounder, no superstar stat sheet, but they had something better, balance and toughness, as the Knights knocked down Francis Parker 57-55 at Front Wave Arena to win the program's first Open Division championship.
Yes, and congratulations to them. 3 players in double digits, forced 10 second-half turnovers, held Parker's leading scorer, Tevitt Johnson, 23.5 points per game to only 8, which is huge. TJ Humphreys had 20. Troy Tamina hit 2 clutch free throws with 17 seconds left. Role players stepped up big. Team basketball win all the way for Victory Christian.
Yeah, and here's the bigger theme. They were more physical. Parker's coach admitted it. Victory Christian didn't outstar them. They outworked them. Both teams now head to the SoCal Regionals. On to girls basketball, where Francis Parker does break through. On the girls' side, Francis Parker School got its revenge after losing last year's final. The Lancers beat Westview 66-50 to win their first Open Division title. Freshman Jordan Brown scored 23. Junior Brianna Brown dropped 25 and grabbed 8 boards. They aren't related, but they sure play like it. And Westview led in the third behind UC Santa Barbara Brown's Sarah Hine, who finished with 23, but Parker closed the third on a 14-0 run and outscored Westview 18-6 after Hine fouled out. Defense decided it, and that's the theme we saw all weekend. What about in wrestling?
Yeah, wrestling, Poway puts 2 on top of the state. Over in Bakersfield at the CIF Championships, Poway High School juniors Bailey Holman and Mario Carini captured state wrestling titles minutes apart from each other. Carini went back-to-back. Holman won in dramatic fashion with a takedown in the final 10 seconds. Poway finished second as a team behind Clovis Buchanan, nearly claiming the top spot. That's not just individual excellence. That is a pipeline. Slammers Youth to Poway Elite to state champions. San Diego Wrestling continues to produce at an elite level. Congratulations to those two.
Especially the Poway Titans and their wrestling program that has been the top here, not only in San Diego, but really one of the top in Southern California each and every year. As for soccer, Division II girls soccer, Del Norte High School won its first section title in 10 years. They beat La Jolla High School in overtime 2-1. Freshman Nurika Boyanapali scored the golden goal. On the boys' side, Bonita Vista High School edged Otay Ranch 3-2 in a Metro Mesa Classic. Late game heroics, championship composure. That's playoff soccer. But when you come about the big picture, what does it say about San Diego sports? Well, are we seeing a shift towards depth over star power in San Diego high school sports? Victory Christian won without a dominant individual. Parker girls basketball won because of defensive runs. Del Norte got a title from a freshman stepping up. Poway wrestling becomes the development and culture. The old formula, get a star, ride with the star. This year's formula, culture, physicality, depth, development. It really just shows the talent that we have here in San Diego.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's also how you build teams. You don't necessarily build them behind one star, because if you build them behind one star, there's a good chance that if you run up against an opponent that can shut down that one star, just the same way Victory Christian was able to, you can run into some serious problems and not being able to score the rest of the way through. And that's exactly what we've seen here. Now you have 18 boys teams, 18 girls teams headed to Southern California regionals. The question becomes, are these feel-good stories, or are we about to make San Diego a real noisemaker statewide?
The state championships start now for a lot of these sports. I mean, wrestling's already done. They've completed their deal. Yes. And there's a couple other sports that are also at that point. But for soccer and for basketball, it's the state runs now. And with a lot of these state championships, the open division, you make the open division down in the sectionals, you get to play in the state regionals. So a lot of these teams that got knocked out in the open division for basketball, season is not over yet, as they're starting to seed a lot of these tournaments. And what that means is baseball and softball right around the corner. We talked about track and field. We talked about lacrosse. We talked about indoor volleyball and outdoor beach girls volleyball. But next week it's go time. We got baseball this week and softball this week in America's finest city. We'll have some great updates for you on that. 124 on a Friday. Getting ready for Drake Hills to join us to talk a little San Diego FC later on in the show to finish up the show. But right now, time to talk about Aztec basketball for the weekend. They play tonight, and there's still a lot on the line for San Diego State in the regular season. You're like, what? Well, it's because that New Mexico and Utah State both lost this week. So that makes everything interesting. So here's what you need to know going into the game tonight. just in terms of possibilities with the standings. Utah State right now is 14-5. New Mexico is 13-6. San Diego State is 13-6. If San Diego State beats UNLV tonight and New Mexico beats Utah State tomorrow, you got yourself a three-way tie atop of the standings of the Mountain West Conference, which means you get to raise a banner, which is cool, I guess. That's still around for San Diego State. I can't believe it, Frank. I really can't. I can't believe that they're in this position.
It's the luck of fools, like I said.
The luck of fools seems to be. So tonight's a big game against UNLV. UNLV just destroyed Utah State the other day. That was on Tuesday. And that was, it was in Vegas, so you can't say it was a home game for them or whatever. But Utah State hosts New Mexico. When these teams played before down in New Mexico, it was Utah State that beat the Lobos by 20. But the thing that makes it interesting, I'm trying to go through the tiebreakers here. It's combined head-to-head. The combined record of each team against the other teams tied is compared. They all went 1-1 against each other. If one team has a better record against all other teams, they gain the higher seed. If a 3+ tie is reduced to a 2-team tie at any point, the process reverts back to a 2-team tiebreaker, which you don't have in the Mountain West Conference in terms of the basketball tie-breaking situation. So I'm trying to find, I think they have the scenarios for this weekend for the seeds. And for San Diego State, and this is done by the Mountain West Connection. So here's the deal. So San Diego State could still share a chance to win the banner, correct? We're on that so far. The Aztecs would earn the 2 seed. If they win, all they would need is a win from Utah State to clinch the 2 seed. So if the Aztecs win and Utah State wins, they get the 2 seed in the Mountain West tournament. If San Diego State wins, it doesn't really. If New Mexico wins, it automatically drops the Aztecs to the number 3 spot at best. And San Diego State will get the 4 seed if they lose and Grand Canyon beats Fresno State and they drop to 4. So here's what's interesting about that. So if San Diego State beats UNLV tonight, correct? And New Mexico wins tomorrow, San Diego State gets a share at the Mountain West title, Frank, but actually gets a worse seed in the Mountain West tournament. Make that make sense. If San Diego State wins and Utah State wins on Saturday, they get the 2 seed, but they don't get the championship. Utah State gets the championship by themselves. And honestly, does it really matter if you're the 2 or the 3 at this point if you're San Diego State? Not really. Not really. So we'll see what the Aztecs do against UNLV tonight. Now, they're facing possible, as pointed out by Mark Ziegler in the Union Tribune, Aztecs are facing possible roster overhaul and a critical UNLV finale here. Program is facing the new normal of college basketball. Brian Dutch and the Aztecs men's basketball team may be headed toward one of the biggest offseason roster resets in program history before Friday's regular season home finale against UNLV. San Diego State's going to honor 5 seniors tonight. Reese Dixon Waters, Miles Bird, Jeremiah Oden, Sean Newman Jr., and the walk-on Cam Lowen. But the reality of modern college athletics, NIL money, and the transfer portal means many more of the players could be leaving. Brian Dutcher acknowledged the program now operates like a professional front office, and he said the roster decisions are now made with a budget and payroll considerations similar to how professional teams operate. No longer of just who wants to come back, it's who do we want back and what is the price we're willing to pay to bring back said players, which signals a major roster evaluation when the transfer portal opens up on April 7th. One example of how drastically and how dramatically things have changed, the program is actually canceling its annual postseason banquet. Players frequently enter the transfer portal immediately after the season, meaning teams are no longer intact long enough to celebrate together, and Dutcher called it the new normal. I mean, I don't even know why colleges would do a banquet anymore. Does anybody even go? Do any of those kids go anymore? Everybody leaves? Like, what's the point of doing a banquet for a lot of these things? It's almost better to do like a kickoff dinner instead of doing any type of banquet because nobody's ever there anymore. I don't even know why you do senior night most of the times anymore either, Frank. What's your opinion on senior nights? I don't. It might be a hot take, but I don't even know why you do senior nights anymore in this day and age of college athletics. When you got kids that are like, "Hey, look, here's a senior that just showed up this year, and we're going to honor him for playing like the one season for us."
Yeah, and this is the stupidity that the NIL portal has created. You lose a lot of these traditions, and like you mentioned about a month or so ago, there's also that lineage of, hey, you went to X insert school here, so did I, that kind of thing. You also lose that. So I mean, it's all of these traditions are making less and less sense as this NIL thing becomes more and more apparent.
I look at the senior day thing, right? And it's like, here's the other thing. So they're honoring Reese Dixon Waters, Miles Byrd, Jeremiah Oden, Sean Newman Jr., and walk-on Cam Lowen. And like Miles Byrd still has another year of eligibility. He could theoretically return, which it makes like the senior day even dumber for most cases. But he's on track to graduate in May. And unlike last year, when he publicly committed to returning, Byrd refused to say if he's back, which leaves the future uncertain. But here's the other players that could potentially not come back if we play in the final game at Viejas. BJ Davis, Taj DeGorville, Pharaoh Compton, Miles Heide. Half the roster could turn over this season. That's what makes senior day crazy to me, too. It's like, not only are you losing all the seniors, potentially, some of the seniors could come back, but all these other guys could leave, too. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it's a ridiculous and unfortunate situation that today's day in college athletics has brought upon us.
So we talked about how San Diego State could potentially hang a banner coming up next year. And that's the other funny thing, too. It's like, how about this? If the Aztecs end up beating UNLV tonight, and then tomorrow New Mexico beats Utah State, and they get to hang a Mountain West Conference championship banner, or even if they go on to win the Mountain West Conference tournament and they make the NCAA tournament, they do the banner raising ceremony, right, on the first game of the next year. That's for like the fans at this point, right? Because if they're going to have a massive roster overhaul, are there going to be anybody on that team next year that won any of the games, that won that banner for the following year? I mean, it's so, you don't see that in any level of sports except for college now, because even in high school, if you were to do like a banner raising ceremony before your first game for high school, which you don't see, at least you'd have a lot of juniors that are now seniors that were part of the team in some capacity, or maybe some sophomores. But even high school is getting crazy with the trades. But anyway, it's just so much of this stuff that's just like, why are we still doing this? I don't know why we're still doing this. So here's what you need to know about the game tonight. Aztecs have lost 4 of the last 5. Most alarming stat came in the loss to Boise State, in which they got bullied and absolutely punked on the boards, 37-15. They got out-rebounded on the offensive boards, 12-2. Second chance points, 21 points for Boise State, 3 for the Aztecs. And for a program known for defensive rebounding, the numbers were shocking. And Miles Byrd admitted the team had been awful on the glass recently. UNLV is entering tonight with momentum. And meanwhile, UNLV has been playing with much better basketball. They're 16-14 overall. They're 11-8 in conference, but they've won 6 of their last 8, and they just hammered Utah State this week, 95-67, showing just how dangerous they can be. UNLV has also some extra motivation after losing a physical and chippy game to the Aztecs earlier this season. So one theme has defined the conference all season. No one is consistent. We talked about this a couple of days ago. Nobody really wants to win the Mountain West Championship, it seems like. Top 3 teams recently. Utah State's lost 3 of 4. New Mexico's lost 2 of 3. Aztecs have lost 4 of 5. Any better would be an idiot to bet on the Mountain West, according to Miles Byrd in a post game or in the preview this week. I kind of have that same sentiment at this point. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. When we come back, we will be joined on the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not big bank banking. It's better. Drake Hills will join us to give us the soccer report for the week on the Braden Surprenant Show, Standing Room Sports Station 97.2 The Fan. It's our final deadline week, if you will, for the winter sports. We are officially in deadline week for the NHL. And this is where front offices decide, are we going for it or are we folding it? Friday at noon Pacific is the trade deadline. Some big names have already moved, including Artemi Panarin landing with the Los Angeles Kings. Got his coach fired at that point.
Yes.
But this week is about who's willing to take the big swing, because in today's NHL, fortune favors the bold. And we'll talk about the local aspect too with the Anaheim Ducks. I mean, the Ducks made a lot of moves the last couple of years in shipping off talent. I'm curious to see if they're going to start acquiring some talent. But there are some teams now where the clock is ticking, starting with the Edmonton Oilers, who are now dropped behind the aforementioned Anaheim Ducks in the standings.
Yeah, so let's start with the Edmonton Oilers. Connor McDavid gave this franchise 2 more years on a team-friendly deal. That's basically flashing red sirens saying, win now. But the problem is your goaltending right now. Tristan Jarry has a .860 save percentage since arriving in a trade that swapped the 2 goaltenders between them and Pittsburgh earlier this year. That's not just shaky. That is a playoff killer right now. They're giving up the most high danger goals in the league. If you're serious about winning the Stanley Cup, you cannot roll into April and hope the goaltending situation figures itself out.
Well, yeah, and then Jerry got pulled from the game against Anaheim last week, and then they were able to bounce back against the Kings in the next game. But if Edmonton doesn't add either a legitimate goalie or a shutdown defenseman by Friday, they're wasting a Connor McDavid prime year.
Yep.
And we say it on the open all the time. You cannot waste a Manny Machado prime year.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Edmonton, you can't be wasting Connor McDavid prime years. That is organizational malpractice.
It's like doing something as ridiculous as wasting the prime of Mike Trout.
Oh,
wait a minute. Hold on.
The Angels did that.
Staying in the West, the Seattle Kraken right now, sitting in a wild card spot. They've been gritty. They've been tough. They're winning games 2-1, 3-2. Issue for them right now is that no one has over 40 points. Nobody has on the team has over 40 points, and they only have one 20 goal scorer. They've aggressively sued Artemi Panarin. They really they were ready to pay him. So that tells you that they're ready for a superstar. Wondering if a guy like Nazem Kadri could be an option for them, might bring a cup ring and some bite. But but the reality in this league, you do not win without elite game breakers. And right now, Seattle just does not have those.
Yeah, Seattle can sneak into the playoffs as constructed, but they won't scare anyone without a top-tier offensive star. If they stand pat, they're playing for competitive, but not for the cup. And that's what everybody is playing for in the end. Time to retool if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's a fascinating one, Frank, because for years, people have said that they were regular season kings who disappeared in the playoffs, and now they might not even get there. They might even make the playoffs. Austin Matthews just captained Team USA to Olympic gold. He's doing his part, but the roster around him is very much underachieving. Pending unrestricted free agents everywhere, restricted free agent questions. This feels like a franchise at a crossroads.
Yeah, it certainly does. And the thing about the Toronto Maple Leafs at this point is they've had to lose guys because they don't have enough money in the cap. They lost Mitch Marner to Las Vegas because of that, and they chose to keep guys like William Nylander around, and it really has not worked out for them. Toronto right now should sell, not tear it down, but just reset the depth, reverse the usual add at the deadline trend, because this group as constructed has gotten to its peak. It has plateaued, and the Maple Leafs really just cannot go much farther than where they're at with the team as it is right now.
As for the Pittsburgh Penguins, one more swing for the Pens. Surprise team. Pittsburgh Penguins, second in the Metro, $10.5 million in cap space. Sidney Crosby motivated after missing the Olympic gold medal game. If you're general manager Kyle Dubois, why wouldn't you swing big and add a shutdown defenseman, add another scorer? This isn't a rebuild roster. This is a one more ride roster with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And if Pittsburgh stands still, That's conservative thinking, and conservative thinking doesn't win championships.
No, it does not. And a lot of the core guys on that roster, if you're thinking about a positive, if they don't go for it, you're not like, oh, this guy has been here for so many years. He's gotten so close. It's not an Alexander Ovechkin situation where he's gotten here. He's been here his whole career. He's gotten so close. He just hasn't won that ring yet. Pittsburgh's won a couple in this Crosby, Malkin, Letang era. So they have taken it home. They do know what to do in order to get it. They just
Broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios, we know how. It's time for our usual recap of what's going on in the soccer world as we get our Soccer 101 with the contributing writer for Black Players for Change and ESPN.com. His name is Drake Hills. He joins us on the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not big bank banking. It's better. Drake, what's going on? How's your Friday going?
My Friday is spectacular. And my Bayern boys had a 4-1 win over Gladbach earlier this morning. I'm in a good mood. I'm in a great mood. Braden, how about you?
I'm also in a great mood, getting up to the weekend. We got the WBC going on. We got the beginning of conference tournaments in men's basketball and women's basketball at the college ranks. Got a lot of sports going on, Drake. Should be it's going to be a fun weekend of sports as well. So let's start talking about San Diego FC. They stayed hot over the weekend, 2-0 shutout of St. Louis. What was your biggest takeaway from how the boys did here at home?
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway is that they've clearly had an identity that it was clear that Marcus Ingvartsen is what he wants to be for this team. And I love that he was not only involved in the first goal, obviously he scored the second early in the second half, but he was the assist man and early on in that easy left foot tap in from Anders Dreyer. And I think that was the 3rd minute. So I'm really proud to see Marcus Ingvartsen, who an injury laden 2025 come into this season, be the 9 that this San Diego FC team needs, I think, going forward, especially as we think about with the expectations that have been set for this team to be a MLS Cup playoffs contending team and perhaps even reach another Western Conference final. They're going to need someone like Ingvartsen not only to score, but to remain involved in the way this team plays, helping out, holding up play for Anders Dreyer to roll off to create some assists, because goals are going to matter, especially as we get into September and October.
Had a couple of moves this week for San Diego FC. The club and Blackburn Rovers FC mutually agreed to terminate the loan of defender Leo Duro. He originally joined San Diego in August of 2025 on loan that was set to run through June with an option to buy. However, the move never developed into a meaningful role as Duro only made 2 appearances, and Thomas Angel has been transferred to Colombia to America de Cali. So these are a couple of moves for San Diego FC. What's your takeaway from kind of the roster decisions this week?
Yeah, I think it's very rare for guys to come in on loan like Duro did. And quite honestly, with all the different moves we talk about, Franco Negri and some of the other players that were a part of this inaugural roster move on in the offseason, I just think Duro was just another extension of those moves. But listen, he's young. He's only 21. He's a dual international, so he's got plenty of time to not only prove that he can play at the first team level, whether that be trying to get into a Premier League squad in England. Obviously, Blackburn are not in the Premier League, but he's coming off of a under 21 squad at Blackburn Rovers, who let's be honest. I mean, they were a Premier League team going out to my youthful generation in the 2000s, but I think it's an opportunity for him to maybe get some championship, so that's second tier minutes as he continues to mature. Like I said, he just turned 21, so he still got, I think, a year or 2 of development. But for a team that's pretty set, whether it be at fullback, he can set up for you as a right back. He can set up for you as an outside mid. I think with SDFC, you're just not going to be able to get on the field in front of some guys that like Amal Pellegrino, for example, who I think is helped out at that outside mid position, although primarily on the left. Let's see, other guys, whether that be, it could be Valakari if you're still in a 4-3-3. You could play, Bryce Duke. You could play Alex Mighton if he wants to, come back and maybe not play up front as a winger, but he can play in that outside mid just as well as Pellegrino. But I think it's really been helpful to have Bambino and Sargent to come into this team, especially Sargent, another young player, Kieran Sargent, who is on loan from Lexington in the USL. So it just seems like depth. We talked about depth last year, Braden, as like, are we going to see this team have what it takes to get through a full MLS season? And they've kind of answered that and above. And so I think it's a good move for Duru to kind of get back to what he's used to in Blackburn. I think it's a little bit different for Angel. I think that's a move that he likes. Cali is an incredible club that has developed tons of players. And I think that's a level of competition that could see him even get a move to Europe if he plays his cards right and performs well.
We also had some other news this week, Drake, for San Diego FC before we break down the match coming up this weekend. But the Leagues Cup 2026 schedule was announced. San Diego FC will participate in the 2026 edition of the Leagues Cup, the growing tournament between MLS and Liga MX clubs. Competition will feature 36 clubs and 54 MLS versus Liga MX matches during the opening phase. San Diego gets Club America, Club Tijuana, and Puebla FC, with Club Tijuana and Puebla FC coming here to Snapdragon Stadium in August. For everybody that's still relatively new to this, what is the Leagues Cup, and what was your biggest takeaway for the schedule that was released?
Yeah, so the Leagues Cup in this current rendition, which is going into its fourth year, is a binational tournament that on any given year involves all of the professional top flight teams from Mexico, which is in their league is called the Liga MX. And then, of course, Major League Soccer, MLS. In recent years, because of whether it be the Club World Cup or other continental tournaments, they have really sliced and not have every single team play in this tournament, but really select teams from both MLS and Liga MX. But listen, I think the Club TJ, the Cholos, as we call them, I think that was probably a shoo-in. There was no way. I think the committee was not going to allow that to be the case. But I mean, I've covered a U.S. men's national team game against Mexico at the Azteca. That is a bucket list item, and I'm excited to see what San Diego FC does and how they expand their fan base. I think as far as the club is concerned, but also not just for San Diego FC in terms of going to Mexico, but also Dallas and Seattle. They're going to go to Toluca. I think that's one thing that has been missing from this tournament. Whitecaps going to Tigres. So that's one thing that's missing from this tournament. I really, truly value both teams playing each other, but to simply make it an all-American or all-United States soil home ground for this tournament, I think it takes away from that home and home that we see in continental tournaments. So I'm really excited to see the level of competition increase, because the joke has always been that the Liga MX teams, they're not all 100% in. I've had sources tell me from different CSOs, different clubs from around MLS saying that, there is this fear and this rumor that, a lot of teams in Liga MX, they're not investing as much into the Leagues Cup. They're focused on winning the Apertura. So this is exciting to see how this changes the dynamic between Liga MX teams and MLS teams, at least in phase one.
And just to kind of recap what Drake was talking about, tournament will run August 4th to September 6th and offers major stakes. Top 3 teams qualify for the 2027 CONCACAF Champions Club Cup that San Diego FC is currently in. The champion receives a direct berth to the round of 16. This year's format is notable because some matches will be played in Mexico, as Drake mentioned, including San Diego's opening matchup against Club America. As Drake mentioned, one of the biggest clubs in North America, but also the one that plays at Estadio Azteca in Mexico City. Last year in San Diego's debut in the tournament, produced some pretty mixed results. They went 1-2. They beat Mazatlan. They lost to Tigres and lost to Pachuca. Yeah, what could be? You mentioned that like not every Liga MX team really dives into this full. What can you take away from some of these, in season tournaments? As obviously San Diego's playing in one right now.
Yeah, and it doesn't help, Braden, that this summer, obviously with the World Cup, that's going to have an incredible impact on players' health, their form, the start and stop of the seasons, not just for major MLS teams, but also Liga MX teams. So this summer and last summer, we've been through a truncated summer of soccer, which some people may think that that's a good thing. I'm on the opposite side. I think that's actually a bad thing. I think it's bad for the quality of the game. I think it's bad for the domestic leagues and in terms of teams being able to be consistent over the course of a season. I think that it does not really prove who is the best team because of depth, because of financial investment, and even more so the marketability and the marketing ploy are Liga MX clubs coming to the United States. And yes, you're going to have an incredible community that loves Club America, which is basically the Dallas Cowboys, LA Lakers, and New York Knicks combined in one, or Guadalajara, Chivas, kind of right there with them, or some of these other clubs, whether it be, Santos, Cholos, Mazatlan, Juarez. Are you going to see some of these smaller, Santos is not a small club, but the others are in relevance to the others. Are they benefiting? Are they getting more fans? And I think the vice versa can be stated. Is San Diego FC going to go to Mexico City and kind of widen the eyes of football fans in Mexico City? Are they going to grow a new fan base in Mexico City? I think that is what incentivizes some of these teams to maybe put their better foot forward. And I think a better balanced geolocation will help do that.
Last thing for you, Drake, got a minute and 45 seconds, but what's the preview of Kansas City, Sporting Kansas City coming up this weekend?
Yeah, I think it's another, I'm not going to call it an easy test. There's no easy test in MLS with the parity involved, but listen, SKC, it's away. The Blue Cauldron is a great supporter section. I've been there. I've covered games there. It's a great stadium, but they're in a rebuild phase. They are not the Sporting Kansas City team that has won trophies, Open Cups, being able to compete in the Champions League. I think this is an opportunity for SDFC to go in and take care of business. It could even be a trap game. But SKC, one of the better academies and therefore some of the best youth in all of MLS. But they have some guys. I mean, Dejan Jovic, he helped LA Galaxy win an MLS Cup just a couple of years ago. So I would watch out for him, a number 9, Serbian number 9 up front. He's someone to keep an eye on. But I think this is 3 points or fail if you're SDFC.
Drake, appreciate the time as always. Again, San Diego FC continuing their MLS season. They got the big match against Toluca coming up next week, and Drake, we'll be able to discuss that the next time we talk to you, hopefully in person next Friday.
Yeah, and hopefully I can get some tickets. That's on my birthday, so they're going to send me a ticket in the mail. Whoever's listening, I'd love to see that Toluca matchup.
I got to get you on the credential list with a fan or something like that. I don't know. Frank's got credentials for some of that stuff, so maybe. Drake, appreciate the time as always. Thanks again to Drake Hills. He's Frank Marchese. Frank, enjoy the races this weekend. Drive safe, buddy.
I plan to. Thank you.
We'll talk to you again on Monday. He'll be all geeked out, ready to go for NASCAR and IndyCar racing. Gwen and Chris coming up next. We'll talk to you guys next week.